It must be nice to be Danielle Hunter right now. I'm having a great day. I'm not having nearly as good of a day as he is. 90 minutes before we went live, $40 million, fully guaranteed. It is nice to be Danielle Hunter. Welcome to Westwood One Sports Night. If you're used to hearing Josh Graham, you will hear him in 20 minutes, but you get Denton Day sitting in for the entirety of today's program. I'm really excited to be here. I'm having a great time. I can promise that you're going to have a great time. I can't promise that you're going to have as good of a time as Danielle Hunter. Like I mentioned, 90 minutes before we went on air, Houston made the smartest decision that they've made this offseason, which is seeing if they can squeeze one more year out of a guy that's had 27 sacks over the last two seasons. $40 million, fully guaranteed, is a hefty, hefty price tag. But at arguably the second most important position on the field, it was one that you had to make, a decision that you had to make, because what ruled for Houston in 2025? It wasn't their hotshot young quarterback, C.J. Stroud. In fact, he has kind of been a little bit of a depreciating asset over the last couple of years. It wasn't the offensive line. Their offensive line has been pretty awful the last 2 years. Their receivers were hurt. Their running game was questionable. It was the defense that carried that team to even a hope and a prayer in the postseason. You got Will Anderson on one side. You get now Danielle Hunter on another side for at least one more season. And he's setting a precedent that we have not seen before. Trey Hendrickson is envious of Danielle Hunter because Danielle Hunter is over the age of 30. You don't see guys get paid like this when they're over the age of 30. Or maybe he's just doing it differently because maybe Trey Hendrickson said, I only want a long-term deal. I don't want to do the short-term one-deal mercenary bit. But I got to tell you, if you're doing a mercenary deal and you're doing that deal for $40 million fully guaranteed, I'll be the mercenary. I'll play on a year-to-year basis if you're giving me a fully guaranteed $40 million. I'm really, really excited to see the evolution of this defense for one more year. I'm really excited to see if this works. I'd love, as somebody that examines the sport of football from many different angles, I'd love seeing when teams employ new tactics in terms of roster building, because you know you're going to have to pay Will Anderson. And that's going to be a massive number that you're going to give him. It might be a little bit more on an annual basis than what you're giving Danielle Hunter right now. So you know that contract is on the horizon, but you don't have to pay it right now. You can push that off at least a little bit. It might be better if you pay it right now for the long term and spreading the money out, but you don't have to. So you can get away with not paying him for 1 year, getting this duo again for a second season, seeing what it looks like if you can rekindle what 2025 was defensively, where you were dogs on the line of scrimmage, absolutely obliterating the opposition on a week-in, week-out basis, regularly, just getting after the quarterback and getting after the quarterback. Keep these two dudes together and see what happens. Seattle just won a championship with a relatively average quarterback. Sam Darnold is average. C.J. Stroud, outside of year number one, has been average. That first year was awesome. That second year and that third year was not awesome. And you could make excuses for him. The offensive line's not very good. He had injuries at the wide receiver spot. This is not like a dissection of what C.J. Stroud is. It's more so that Seattle has given a blueprint that is not, and they're not the first one. In fact, they actually did it earlier, 15 years ago, whatever it was, with Russell Wilson. Sorry to the Russ fans out there, but Russell Wilson did not lead them to that championship when they won the Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos. It was the defense. Russ was there, but it was the defense. They've laid out this model. If you have one pass rusher that is a badass, you feel pretty darn good about it. But, brother, if you got two pass rushers that are a badass, you're damn near unbeatable. You're damn near unbeatable because you cannot score on that. You can't, as an opposition, get into rhythm. If C.J. Stroud didn't turn the ball over 80,000 times in the playoff game against the Patriots, they would have beaten them because that defense was so good. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are so good on the outside. This is the model. If you don't have a Mahomes, really that's it. I mean, if we're just going to be honest here, Because I would say Josh Allen, or I would say Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, the four horsemen of quarterbacks in this league. I could say a Matt Stafford. I could say like a prime Aaron Rodgers. But the one thing that those like six dudes that I just named who are not named Patrick Mahomes did was lose. So unless you have like a Mahomes, you better stiffen up that defense to the best of your ability, because that is what is going to lead you. This is a great deal for the Houston Texans, a fantastic deal that keeps that defense at the strength, and that keeps that defense is, for lack of a better term, is the face of the operation moving forward. We are going to be led by those two dudes on the outside. We have good guys on the back end of that defense, and we are not afraid to pay money to do so. I don't know that Danielle Hunter is ever going to get $40 million guaranteed fully again. Like, I don't care what the number of sacks he puts up in 2026 is. He's going to be 32, going on 33 in 2027. So squeeze in as much money as you can make it if you're the player. And then if you're Houston, again, you don't know, you know at least right now that you're not going to be paying Will Anderson, or at least not yet. You get this contract done. They could still theoretically pay Will Anderson in the coming days and weeks if they wanted to. But you get this contract done first, and then you can make that decision knowing that eventually you will pay him. This is a great deal for the Houston Texans. I'm Denton Day. I'm sitting in for Josh Graham on Westwood One Sports Night. Josh will join us in about 15 minutes, talk a little bit of college basketball. We got Oliver back in our Culver City studios. He will be taking care of you on the phone tonight and going into the morning, so be nice to him. He will be nice to you. We're simulcast on Twitter and YouTube. We're trying to get the Westwood One Sports Night YouTube page to 1,000 subscribers by the end of March. So if you have not subscribed, get to a phone, get to YouTube, and hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 by the end of the month of March. This is such an exciting time in the NFL because, like, this Danielle Hunter news dropped 90 minutes before the show started. I had this full plan of what I was going to do, and none of it involved Danielle Hunter. I wasn't going to talk anything about the Houston Texans today because, quite frankly, prior to that contract, they were a little bit on the irrelevant side. But that contract breaks, and we still have other news to get to. I am curious as to how the Danielle Hunter contract is going to impact what happens with Max Crosby, because Crosby is going to get dealt more likely than not at this point. He doesn't want to be in Las Vegas. It feels like they are just realizing, hey, the light's at the end of the tunnel. Let's not do what Cincinnati did with Trey Hendrickson. Wait too long to trade a guy. Get him while the getting's good. The iron is hot. Strike. We're going to trade Max Crosby. But whoever is going to be receiving Max Crosby, if not immediately, you then have to give him a contract. So Danielle Hunter right now, with his $40 million fully guaranteed for 1 year, that marks him as the fifth highest paid defensive end in the NFL. Now, he already occupied that position. He had just a little bit over the number of Max Crosby in 2025. But if you're going to trade for Max Crosby, odds are you are going to have to pay Max Crosby. Danielle Hunter might have just set the number for the teams that are in the market for Max Crosby of, hey, you got to pay this. Because his contract has guaranteed money for the rest of this year, and then that's kind of it. The way that the way that Las Vegas put that contract together, it's very easy for them to get off of it. You know, he was heavily front-loaded. They can get off of it really easy. It saves them a lot of money, so they're going to be in a position where they already have a hell of a lot of cap room, and they're going to be saving money, getting a massive haul of draft picks in return. But now somebody, Dallas, Chicago, Philadelphia, the teams that we have heard in discussions, rumored discussions at least, for Max Crosby, not only are you now having to give up massive amounts of draft capital, but you are now going to have to sign him, odds are, to a long-term extension a year after he just got one in Las Vegas, and that might have to now match the number that Danielle Hunter just put up, because Crosby's much younger than Danielle Hunter is, and theoretically, there's a little bit more upside to a guy that's not even touched his 30s yet than a guy like Danielle Hunter, who is, you know, into and comfortably into his 30s. This is what I love the most about, like, the free agency side of things, right? And just the kind of the madness that happens leading up to free agency, because all of these different things, it very much feels like, in most instances, like this domino effect, right? One domino falls, and then how is this going to impact somebody else? And then how is this going to impact somebody else and somebody else and somebody else? It's always been, to me, fascinating to watch. And there's some notable names that are going to be hitting the free agency market. Teams that are going to miss out on Max Crosby are then going to pick up the phone and say, hey, Trey Hendrickson, we're really interested in your services. Hey, we know it didn't work out in Cincinnati. You're free. Which, by the way, like a quick sidebar here. The way that everyone, and this goes for every national network. We've done it here. The mothership has done it. Big time television networks, NFL Network has done it. When most guys get released or they hit free agency, they are free agents, right? The way that Trey Hendrickson was marketed when he hit free agency was that Trey Hendrickson is free because everybody knows what happened in Cincinnati and what is going on in Cincinnati. It's one of the worst run organizations in the NFL. And this dude that earned his money, that earned a piece of money at least, that did not get that piece of money is now going to hit the open market. He's not going to get, I don't think, the money that Crosby's getting, but he might get over $35 million for a year or two, maybe. That might even be aggressive, but he's going to get over 30. I think comfortably he should get over 30. He now is free from Cincinnati. So all good things that are coming in the lead up to free agency, which is a little under a week from this very day. When we hit the open market, I mean, we're going to know about things that have taken place prior to the open market actually, opening, right? Like we kind of know how that deals. Backroom deals are happening. Agents are talking with general managers. Framework is being done at this specific point in time. Also a great day for the Buffalo Bills and for Brandon Beane, because Brandon Beane gets to sit through an offseason where he is not relentlessly pestered about, hey, why don't you have a good wide receiver for Josh Allen? The Bills make a trade for DJ Moore. They give a second-round pick. They get DJ Moore. They get a fifth-round back in return. I'd love this for Buffalo. I've been seeing this get panned all day over social media, and I've been chomping at the bit to get in front of a microphone because I am flabbergasted, lost, like just completely out of the loop as to why anyone would look at this trade and think, wow, this sucks for Buffalo. DJ Moore's a wide receiver one in this league. He's not elite, but you don't need to be elite. Josh Allen needs good. Like he needs fine. And you got a player that's good. DJ Moore hated being in Chicago. I don't know why he didn't like being in Chicago. I've heard lovely things about Chicago. I don't know why he didn't like Caleb Williams. It feels like those two guys should have meshed really well. Maybe he didn't like Ben Johnson. There are a lot of different things that we could point to about DJ Moore in Chicago and say this did not work out very well. I don't think he liked being there. And now he gets to go to a place where he is going to like being, at least in the summer. I don't know if anyone really likes being in Buffalo when it snows 18 feet. Like that, for me, maybe if you're in Buffalo, sorry. But that to me just seems like it would suck. It would be awful. But he now gets to go play with a quarterback that I think he actually wants to play with. I never got the feeling that DJ Moore really wanted to play with Caleb Williams. And honestly, that says a lot more about DJ Moore than it does about Caleb Williams. The way that he would throw some tantrums on the sidelines, the way that he would undercut some routes that may or may not have cost Chicago its season. Like, there's a lot of ways that ended in Chicago for DJ Moore to where I understand why Bears fans are upset. But if you're Buffalo, this is an outright win because at the very least you're upgrading. Khalil Shakir is maybe a number 2 in this league. He's a really high level number 3. Like, he's kind of on that fringe. If you want to put him at number 2, I think you can get away with it. But he's probably better at number 3, moving and doing some things in the slot. Like, there's a lot of versatility with what he offers, and I think he and Josh Allen have a really good chemistry. They had that dude at 1. They put that dude on the outside and said, save us, please. They got down like Princess Leia talking to Obi-Wan Kenobi and saying, Khalil, you are our only hope. Tight ends ain't hitting this year. It's you and James Cook. Please help us. That is not what Buffalo can do in 2026. And miss me with any kind of conversation about how a second-round pick was going to get you a guarantee of something better than DJ Moore. If things don't go well for Buffalo in 2026, Brandon Beane is next. Sean McDermott was last year. Brandon Beane is the next option of guys that are going to get cut. If you are in that position, are you going to the draft for your savior, or are you going to go to a guy that at the very least has a lot of NFL experience, who, oh, by the way, his bad season in 2025, bad being relative for DJ Moore, still would have had a great year statistically compared to everybody else in Buffalo. Like, his numbers are really comparable to what Khalil Shakir did, and this was a bad season for DJ Moore. So imagine what happens when you get him with Josh Allen. You get the full offseason to build chemistry, and then you can put together a good season. I'd love the deal for Buffalo. And for Chicago, it works too because you free up $23 million. in cap space. More on that coming up. It's a big-time weekend in college basketball this weekend. We get the final weekend of the regular season before we officially enter the madness, and the final weekend of the regular season means we get another installment of Duke and Carolina. Is Caleb Wilson going to be on the floor for the Tar Heels? We will ask the regular host of this program, Josh Graham, next on Westwood One Sports Night.
The Patriots are releasing star receiver Stephon Diggs. Will the AFC champions look to acquire Eagles standout A.J. Brown and reunite him with Mike Vrabel? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
It's Westwood One Sports Night on Westwood One Sports. I'm Denton Day sitting in for Josh Graham on Thursday and Friday. You can connect with me on Twitter at the Denton Day. We're simulcast on Twitter and YouTube. Search Westwood One Sports Night on YouTube, and you better give us a subscribe if you search for us. We're on the road to 1,000. We're trying to get it by the month of March. Now, I'm going to tell you guys something because I'm a good guy, and I'm going to listen to the audience here. I thought we would get 1,000 by summer. And there's one person that said, no, Denton, we're going to get 1,000 by the end of March. And he hosts this show on a regular basis. That is Josh Graham. He joins me now. Josh, we're getting closer and closer to tournament season. We're in the month of March. This is haven for college basketball fans such as yourself. But you told me, hey, we're going to get 1,000 by the end of the month of March, and you're sticking to it.
No doubt. It's where I'm from, where my feet are. This is the biggest month of the year. And I know college basketball is having one of the best seasons we've seen in modern history. And I know I'm going to be at the greatest rivalry in American sports on Saturday, which Westwood One is going to be carrying. And I know I'm going to be at the Final Four in Indianapolis. So if we're putting out that sweet, beautiful content on our YouTube channel, on site, boots on the ground, I know that's what the people want, and the numbers are going to reflect that.
So go subscribe if you haven't already. There's a lot of stuff I want to get into. Obviously, Duke and Carolina is big this weekend. But the biggest story, it feels like right now in college basketball, is not Darren Peterson, as much as we love talking about Darren Peterson. It's instead, should Miami get in, should they not get in as an at-large team? You've been sitting on this, and for those that aren't aware, Josh is sitting in on Bleck and Abdallah this week. So he'll be back right here on Westwood One at noon Eastern time on Friday to get you set for the weekend. Are they in if they lose in their conference tournament?
I think they're in if they lose tomorrow to their rivals in Athens, Ohio, and then lose their first game in the MAC. If they lose 2 games in a row to close the season, I think they're in the NCAA tournament, and they should be. History reflects that this is the case too. They are the 7th team since the tournament expanded to 64 in 1985 to start the season 28-0, and they're sitting at 30-0. The message it would send if you do not let a 30-2, hypothetically, Miami of Ohio team into the field of 68, the message that would send, it's antithetical to why we play the game. Now, I know you'll have people say, well, who did they play? They haven't played a top 50 team in the metrics or whatever. If you know ball and you know mid-major basketball, if you pay even just a little bit of attention, you know that the MAC isn't seen as one of the worst competitive leagues in mid-major. This isn't like the Southland Conference we're talking about, or, with all due respect, the MEAC or the SWAC. The MAC is actually a pretty good league for mid-major standards. They've had teams in their league win tournament games before. So the fact that they've gone unbeaten in their conference up to this point, it should be rewarded. There are metrics that back this up as well that they should be in. So anybody who is suggesting that you should have borderline 500 teams from power conferences getting in over a 30-0 Miami of Ohio team, regardless of what happens in Athens or the rest of the way, you should respond by asking what their ulterior motive is and whether or not they actually like the sport that they're talking about.
Yeah, that's the thing that tripped me up. So I was crunching some stuff, and I was like, all right, let's look at some bracketology. I try to avoid it, too much in like January and February because I think it becomes a little bit of a mockery of itself. But then I'm looking at like this Auburn team, and I get why Bruce Pearl is the one beating his chest, saying, "Hey, I don't know that Miami should be in when his son coached." Like, I get it, right? This is how nepotism works. Fine. But I was like, man, I do not want to see a team that's barely scratching and clawing at 20 wins get in over a team that's unbeaten at this point just because they play in a better conference. Like, I want Cinderella. If I'm going to enjoy the crack hit that is the NCAA tournament, I want the crack. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want the synthetic fake stuff. Give me the real stuff.
Yeah, the analogy I make is that the first weekend of the NCAA tournament is, I'll compare the Cinderellas, the Miami of Ohio's, if you will, to the bad singers in American Idol. Early on in the season, you like to have those singers. But then when you start getting to the finalist rounds and the further you get, William Hung singing Ricky Martin suddenly becomes less fun. And in the NCAA tournament, it's good in the early rounds to have Cinderella. But then when you get to the Elite Eight or the Final Four, you don't really want to see St. Peter's playing basketball anymore. So I'm with you on that. And by the way, to further the stat I brought up that there have been just 7 teams that are 28-0 to start the season, the first 6 were actually 1 seeds in the tournament. So I think a 30-0 Miami should at least be in the field of 68 since nobody is seriously considering them as a 1.
Is William Hung a recent American Idol? Does American Idol still exist?
No, it still exists, but that was probably in the prime years, like right around the time that Ruben Studdard was going up against Clay Aiken. Oh, he was worse. But people liked his moxie so much that he was on like every talk show for a week. He was so bad, and people put on petitions him to get back on the show. And then he got back on, and people were like, okay, that's funny, but can we get to the people who actually can sing, please? That would be great.
Josh Graham with us here. He normally hosts this show. He's filling in on Black and Abdallah this week, so Denton Day is sitting in on Westwood One Sports Night. I know, it's kind of like this Black Mirror thing, isn't it? Like, it's all flip-flopped and reversed and everything. You're going to Duke UNC this weekend. You're taking our boss to Duke UNC this weekend. Before we get to the theatrics of what that is going to be and the fun that is going to be, is Caleb Wilson going to play?
I don't know. And Hubert Davis was talking earlier today about it, said that he has done individual work for the last week or so. They haven't practiced as of that availability since the win over Clemson on Tuesday night. This is Hubert Davis playing games, by the way, because his availability was before practice. I think he has an idea whether or not Caleb's going to go. For perspective, though, got a lot of friends who are on staff, got friends who cover the team, and Caleb Wilson is described as being so animated, so locked in during all these games that it's hard to imagine that if he's given any choice at all, he's not playing Saturday. In fact, during the rivalry game against NC State a few weeks ago, like, he was standing. The referee actually asked him, if you're going to stand, can you stand closer to the corner? And the entire game he was standing, kind of like the Arnold meme with clenched fist. That's what he looked like, with one of those fists actually being fractured. But it is Saturday will mark 25 days since he fractured his hand against Miami. Another good sign that we don't know anything, Denton. I know you'll appreciate this. Usually for this game, we get the odds on Thursday. We don't have the odds for Duke, North Carolina, which tells me Vegas doesn't know. And if Vegas doesn't know, then maybe Hubert Davis and North Carolina don't know yet either.
You see, I was going to ask about that because my next question was going to be super degenerate and say, all right, if we don't know that he's playing, like, what's the number? And I'm trying to search the number as you're answering the question. I'm like, there is no number. That to me says that he's going to give it at least some sort of a go, maybe on a restriction. Can they win, though, if he doesn't, UNC?
See, man, the beauty of this is the least likely it looks like one side has a shot to win is usually when you get the best game possible. Maybe See, you were
Better
treated to
than the
one of the
first
greatest.
one?
See, we'll see. But memorably, 1995 comes to mind. Cameron Indoor. Duke has the lesser squad. Pete Gaudette is coaching because Coach K's back went out, and this is a losing Duke team. And they're going up against Jerry Stackhouse, Rasheed Wallace. This North Carolina team is loaded. And the game goes to double overtime and features a couple of buzzer beaters, and North Carolina holds on by the skin of their teeth to win that game. Is that what we're going to get Saturday? I don't know, but I know that North Carolina over the last 20 years has a winning record at Cameron, 11-9. I know they've won 5 of the last 8 there. I know the last 2 senior nights there, Duke favored in the game, including an 11.5-point favorite in Coach K's final game at Cameron. And we all know how that went. North Carolina winning the last 2 senior nights at Duke. With this game, if it's a line that even approaches double digits, out of general principle, I'm going to bet the underdog, because generally when it's least expected that we're going to have a great game, that's when we get an all-time classic.
I'd be stunned if it hits double digits. The environment, though, this weekend. So I was at that UNC game, right? You and I were there. It was crazy. It was packed to the gills. Obviously, UNC won that on a buzzer beater, and I thought this just happens every time. I know it doesn't, but I just thought that. What is the environment going to be like this weekend? Understanding that both of these teams are really, really good for the first time in a couple years, right? Like, obviously, they were both really good. Yeah. Coach K's last year when UNC gets to the Final Four, but what is that environment going to be like knowing that both of these two teams, when fully healthy, are championship-level teams? I
was telling you, and I was telling Armin Williams, our boss, who I'm taking to the game with me Saturday, who's never been to Cameron, that the Duke-Carolina game at Cameron is truly unlike anything in sports, at least in college basketball. If you were to look up the cheapest ticket that you could buy, say on a whim, Denton, you said you wanted to join us and go to this game on Saturday and buy a ticket, you couldn't find a ticket for cheaper than $1,700 or $1,800. The cheapest ticket for it, because the exclusivity of it, it's a building that holds 8,000 people, and half of them are students who have been camping out for more than a month to have tickets to this game. And then you have the alumni, and then you have the allotment for visiting fans. To that real estate for that game, it's the only things you could compare it to are like the Masters at Augusta and some of the more exclusive things that are in there in sports. And that's why it's different. And, man, this game, I'm just so excited to be there. I'm glad Westwood 1's going to be there. In fact, I was just talking to the folks at Duke, trying to finagle some space for both me and Armin where we could both sit together at the game. And they told us, whoa, since you guys are carrying the game, we would never think to sit anybody next to the national broadcast crew during the game. But since you guys are colleagues, I think we have room for 2 seats next to Noah Eagle and the crew that are going to be calling the game on Saturday. So that's where me and Armin are going to be posted up at Cameron Indoor Saturday. So I can't wait to have that vantage point.
Where does the national radio broadcast team sit?
So this is interesting you asked. So the vantage point that TV gets is unlike anything else, and radio as well. It's a thing called the crow's nest, where you literally have to climb a ladder to get in, and you overlook the court. The problem is you can't go to the bathroom as soon as the half begins. You're stuck up there. The ladder gets brought up, and you're stuck up there. We're going to be positioned right beyond the corner. There's this auxiliary seating that we hang out at. And, in fact, I've been up there a couple of times for Duke Carolina just to hang out with someone who's been doing work for Westwood 1 for 30 years. Debbie Antonelli would always call the ACC women's tournament in Greensboro. This year it's in Atlanta, so I doubt I'll be seeing Debbie. But then she'd make the ride down to Durham for the game or the Smith Center, and she'd just post up there, and I'd just hang out and get my women's basketball fix from Debbie while watching the greatest rivalry in sports. So I know the lay of the land well. I'm excited to be up there with Armin Williams and with Noah Eagle and the crew. And, I can't wait to report back on what's hopefully going to be a fun game.
I'm going to be where this is a medium and a platform for honesty, right? The idea
Sure.
of being stuck somewhere for an unknown amount of time without being able to go to the bathroom is like one of my biggest fears.
I've sat up there one time. Actually, it was my first time in Cameron Indoor Stadium, where the legendary voice of the Blue Devils, who since passed, Bob Harris. I was in high school. I wrote him a letter saying I wanted to be in broadcasting, and he said, "Hey, how about you come to a game against Davidson, where some guy named Steph Curry was playing for
pretty good.
playing for Davidson as the visiting team." And he said, as a high schooler, "Hey, you want to come to Cameron for a game and sit up in the crow's nest with me?" And I sat next to him on the radio broadcast with headphones on, and that was the first time I ever took in Cameron Indoor Stadium, and it doesn't get old. I love that building. I love that atmosphere. And this game, it's just another level. My first one was the Zion shoe game in 2019. And, the funniest story with that is it's the last time, by the way, that game, this series had a regular season game that wasn't played on a Saturday. Because you always have this game slated Saturday, 6:30, prime time for college basketball. That was on a Wednesday night. It was a 9 o'clock tip. I got done with a show at 6, and I'm racing to get there in time. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, I wasn't able to get to my seat in time for tip-off. So I'm in like a holding area right beyond the court where their media room's at. And all the screens in the holding area flipped to what was on the scoreboard rather than the TV broadcast. And what was on the scoreboard wasn't the game. So we're all in this media room about 100 feet from the court that this game's actually happening in. No clue what's happening. So we finally get the channel turned to the game that we're in the building for. And the first thing we see is Zion on the floor. And we're wondering, what the hell just happened? Did somebody shoot Zion? We had no idea, and we were about 100 feet from where it happened.
All right, so I got 30 seconds, and you got a bedtime because you got to do the
Yes.
midday show. Josh is going to be in on
Yes.
Bleck and Abdallah tomorrow. He's been there all 3 days, or Wednesday and Thursday, I should say, rather. 10 days sitting in on Westwood One Sports Night. Who wins? You predicted the winner last time.
It'll be Duke. But, man.
You don't sound happy
if you-
about that.
Because, again, it's not fun to do that. Like, when I said Michigan was going, or Duke was going to beat Michigan, Duke was the underdog. When I said North Carolina would beat Duke, you can't always just pick the underdog. That's not going to help you each time. I'm going to take Duke, but if that line is close to 9.5, 10, remember, Duke's won this 6-game winning streak by an average of 24 points per win. I'm going to take the Tar Heels plus the points on general principle. And if you want another fix of this game, by the way, D-Day, the top 4 in the ACC standings have been locked in. If Duke and North Carolina win their first games in Charlotte next Thursday night, they're going to meet again Friday at 9:30 next week.
And that's very, very exciting. He is Josh Graham. Josh, I appreciate you stopping by. You can hear him tomorrow, Bleck and Abdallah, noon to 3 p.m. Eastern time. Coming up, I've never had oysters. Linnell Willingham had oysters for the first time. I see him in the green room. I didn't ask him to come give us the breakdown of oysters, but he's going to do it anyway. He joins me next. It's Westwood One Sports Nights with Dent Day sitting in on Westwood One Sports.
Selection Sundays in 10 days. March Madness is coming in hot, and we've got the basketball brains to get your bracket ready. From your official home of the NCAA tournament, Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
I didn't even say hello, Oliver.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
It's Denton Day on Westwood One Sports. This is just like a reunion of Westwood One Sports nights. I'm sitting in for Josh Graham. He's doing Bleck and Abdallah tomorrow on the network. That's going to be noon to 3 p.m. Eastern time. But I've been marketing this damn YouTube channel so much over the first hour. I might as well have the other guy that's been pandering, shall I say, for 1,000 subscribers. He's been begging. We're going to get there by the end of the month of March. Josh Graham just came on and said it. Linnell Willingham is now with us. We're going to get to some Danielle Hunter stuff as well because I think the timing of this is perfect. He gets the bag, $40 million guaranteed for one season. He's one of the best in the game. But I got sent, unsolicited, a video of you trying oysters for the first time. We each had lunch with our boss today that we had never met before. We talked, obviously, Teams, FaceTime, Zoom, phone calls, all these things. We never met face-to-face. I had a lunch with him, and then I sent him down to your neck of the woods in southern Maryland, and you had dinner with him. Explain to me why you tried oysters, how they were. I've never had them, by the way.
Yeah.
I've never had oysters.
I've never had oysters either. How did we ultimately get to me eating oysters? So, Armin, first of all, we agreed on cheddars. I told you this.
Yes.
Not that we agreed, but we kind of had to say so to make him pay for whatever. So, cheddar, I was like, Cheddar's, dog. What's up? Let's go to Cheddar's. Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen. He was like, man, I want to go to Cheddar's. I got Cheddar's out my neck of the woods. I want to eat something I don't get to eat. So I'm like, all right, you picky bastard. Okay, we'll go somewhere else. He takes me. You know I'm not no 5-star type of. That's not. I don't get down that way. I'm a
Yes.
sweatpants and hoodie type of cat.
Yes.
Now I put on my good jeans. You see, I got a collar shirt on tonight. I
was
try
gonna
to
say,
do it.
You are looking like you dressed up to go somewhere.
Yeah, I tried to, just to show off Armin a little bit, but I don't even know the name of the restaurant we was just at. Oh, I got the bag over there.
Oh my!
You know
You
what?
got leftovers.
I got leftovers. You know what?
He
You
said,
keep
"Give me the
talking for a
box."
second. I'll be right back.
All right, you go get the bag. So I just got sent this video. I took Armin out, our boss, to like this very nice Italian dinner, and we just chopped it up for a little bit, talked some sports, and we're going to talk to Neil Hunter because again, the Neil Hunter signing came in a really good time frame. But I need to know how oysters taste because I've never had oysters. Period. So I think I might have set the bar for you, Linnell, because I took him to like a relatively fancy restaurant as well.
Yeah.
Granted, it was on the company dime. That's how we do it around these parts.
Right.
But I gave him like a nice chicken parm, so maybe he needed to go a little bit lighter, do some seafood.
Yeah, whatever this place is, I still don't know what it's called because there's so many different logos on this bag. I
Yo,
think
you know
we're
what's
at Barca?
hilarious?
No.
The logo of the
Addie's?
restaurant that I took Armin to is on that bag.
Where? So, where did you take him?
I took him to Mia's. It's on the other side. If you're watching on
Mia's.
YouTube, you can see this bag that Linnell has. If you're not watching on YouTube, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Search Westwood One Sports and I get on there.
Oh, Joe Theismann has his own restaurant too. Theismann's is on here. So he.
You didn't
so
know
we
about
went to,
Theismann's?
did
Theismann's
not.
apparently a silly brunch.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, this
Okay,
doesn't matter
Joe.
to anybody outside of the DMV, but yeah, Joe Theismann has a really good restaurant.
We went to Ada's on the River, is what it's called. Ada's on the River. ADA.
They have an Ada's on the river in Maryland?
We were in D.C. We drove to D.C.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
we ended up
But
going
you
to
drive
DC.
to. Never mind. This isn't off now. I'm not going to dox either of us. I
No,
think
no,
you
no.
literally basically drove to right where Armin and I ate.
Really?
Yes,
It
'cause
was dark.
Yeah, Mia's is like right around the corner from Ada's on the river.
Okay.
How are
well,
the
there we
oysters?
go.
I'm
the
completely
oysters-
doxing where we lived. Someone's in like Iowa being like, I don't know what any of this means.
Yeah. So I have leftovers because he's such a gentleman. I got some lobster mac and Brussels sprouts in here. I don't know how
Whoa.
well the YouTube chat can see that. Yeah, oh yeah.
Time out. Hold on. You said lobster mac?
As a side.
You got lobster on the company? I did not. I should have got dessert. I didn't get dessert. I'm trying to watch my figure. I don't know if you can tell on the YouTube.
Oh, clearly.
We just got an appetizer and an entree. I didn't know I could get lobster.
I have the best crab cake in Maryland as well as half of a filet mignon. He just gave me all the leftovers and was
Wait, hold on.
You thought
You got lobster, crab, filet mignon. This is the difference between talent and producer. I get my chicken parm.
No way.
You get the steak. You get
No
the
way.
lobster.
It's so crazy. You might as well have been there. I felt like we spent a lot of the time talking about you, which is great.
It's terrible.
The oysters, though, man. Are you able to like put the video up? Is that a thing?
The video was a little grainy.
Okay.
Trust me, that bad boy would have been out on social media immediately because that's it's a hilarious thing because I feel like you're 28, I'm 30. Most people would generally assume probably have had oysters before.
At some point, you know what I'm saying?
I was in New Orleans, which is apparently like the oyster capital. Did
Really?
not know that. Never touched an oyster. I was like, why do I want oysters?
I had you some oyster and a cold drink. That's what I'm learning about New Orleans. They like to say cold drink. So Armin tells me these are like fake oysters. And look, I'm telling you, my man just now said I'm leaving here with something. You know what Denzel said, brother. I'm leaving here with something, Slim. It was really good, though, man. It was really good. And Josh Graham says, SGA-inspired outfit. I even put down my fake $30 Fashion Nova men's watch. Yes, sir. Come on, man. I got on my denim. I got on good denim. I'm rocking and rolling tonight.
Are
But
those
it was
J's
cool.
too or just Nikes?
It's got my Nike Dunks on. Just chilling.
Yeah,
Armin, though,
that's
man,
quite the
he's
fit.
tall.
Yeah, our boss is taller than I thought.
Yeah, he's pretty tall. He was about almost the same height as me. So
Yeah.
that was cool to see.
When you only see somebody's torso, you can't
Yeah.
get a feel for what the height is. Also sneaky tall as Josh Graham. Had no idea. Saw him in person.
He
I'm like,
dwarfed
oh,
you in the picture.
You're tall.
It just so
yeah.
happens that you were aura farming with,
Oh, yeah.
with your chest hairs out. So it kind of took it away. But he was like, he had to like, this restaurant so fancy, their sides were a la carte.
Yeah.
That's how fancy this place was. I'm like, oh, what the hell are we doing? And then I'm
Yeah,
partially trying to be a little modest, you know what I'm saying? Because, well, you know what happened today. I mean, I'm thinking, I got other things in my mind as I'm ordering tonight, man. And he's like, what are we going to do in terms of appetizer? They have fried chicken thighs. So, you know, that's the first place. You know, the first place that I went was fried chicken thighs. And then they had some type of succotash. You know, succotash. That's stuff.
Suffering succotash.
Yeah, so that was like, nah, I'm not going to do the succotash. So he was like, you ever had oysters before? And every time somebody fancy asks me something like that, I'm like, no, I haven't had oysters. He's like, oh, yeah, we're doing the oysters. You know, Armin has his, like, naturally raspy voice. Oh, yeah, we're doing the oysters. And
You're making this dude sound like Macho Man Randy Savage.
yeah. But they bring the oysters to the table, and he says they're fake oysters because they were, like, coated in cheese. It was like a baked oyster. So it's like a cheese bake on top. It was really good. I say all that to say,
I can't be the official. I can't dictate whether that's real or fake. I have no idea.
look, I say all that to say these oysters was good as hell. Good as heck.
All right, so you're going to add oysters back to the regular menu. I would just tell you to be cautious about where you get oysters from.
That's true. Because I also didn't just give them from like a 5-star restaurant.
Right. But I brought you on here as well.
Yeah.
You know, lobster mac,
Yeah.
crab cakes, filet mignon. I feel like now you're qualified to talk about this Danielle Hunter contract of $40 million guaranteed on a one-year deal, because I'm sure that's what he's celebrating with tonight. I think we knew that Houston wanted to keep him. I didn't know they were going to shell out $40 million fully guaranteed. I do wonder what that means for when, not if, but when they're going to pay that Will Anderson deal.
That Will Anderson will get paid this summer. I think
it's this summer still?
Yeah, I think it's this summer. Why wait?
Before Stroud?
The price is only going up. Yeah, because I think with him, the production has been that of a all-pro caliber player. Danielle Hunter's a stud. I feel like he wasn't really getting his flowers until he got to Houston. He is one of the top 5 edge rushers in the National Football League. I think that contract dictates it. What did Micah sign for? Micah signed for about $40 million annually as well, correct?
No, Micah's deal is. So he right now is 5th
He went to
in the
47.
NFL. Yeah, Micah's 46.5. Aiden Hutchins 45. TJ Watt is 41. I guess this will put him at 4. He'll be slightly over Myles Garrett's 40 a year because he got 40.1.
It's crazy. Premium position, you got to pay him. What this interests me, and one, it's a good move for the Texans. Keep your guys. Does this at all impact or raise the price of Trey Hendrickson for pending teams out there in free agency? That's what I
actually asked a different question in my open. I think it raises the price of Max Crosby because you're going to have to flip him. You're going to give 2 first-round picks. That seems to be the going rate for him. And then you're likely going to have to sign him to an extension because we know that contract has not a lot of money left in it the rest of the way. Vegas really front-loaded that, so I think it raises his price.
Because when did he sign his extension? 2 years ago? Was this
He
past
signed
summer?
He signed it right before, honestly, right before I think, Myles Garrett and maybe Danielle Hunter because Danielle did he's done a bunch of 1-year deals or 1-year extensions, if you will.
Because I think there was some questions about how long he was going to continue to play, but Danielle said flat out, he can go, man.
He can go. Linnell, I appreciate it, my friend. The impromptu review of the oysters. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy.
But don't worry, I'm telling you, just so you're prepared for it, I'm gonna pop by again.
I got a great pop by at 2 a.m. when we're talking about the pimp. And
I
the coach
can't
that
wait.
moonlit as a pimp. So we'll see Linnell later in the show. I'm Denton Day. I'm sitting in for Josh Graham here on Westwood One Sports Night. We're simulcast on Twitter and on YouTube. Coming up, I'm going to tell you why the winner of the Kenneth Walker sweepstakes is actually going to be a loser. Don't go anywhere.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
It's Westwood One Sports Night. Denton Day sitting in for Josh Graham on a Thursday, now Friday on the East Coast. Josh is going to be on Black and Abdallah on Friday, so you can hear him then. The Kenneth Walker sweepstakes is in full effect. We run promos on it. He feels like he's one of the biggest free agents that's not a quarterback, and someone's going to desperately overpay for him. I wouldn't pay him the money that he is asking for, reportedly. That number has now escalated to $13 million. Seattle says, hey, we're not in the market for that. We're not going to pay you $13 million on a long-term deal. There have been a bunch of other teams that have been rumored to be interested in Kenneth Walker. The Denver Broncos have been interested, apparently. Pittsburgh has taken some interest. Apparently Washington is interested, and a litany of other teams. Don't overpay for a performance that you saw in a Super Bowl. What he did in that game is great. And Kenneth Walker, to his credit, is a really good player. But I'm not paying $13 million unless you are a special kind of running back. I am what I describe as a new old school or an old new school. However you want to look at it, I am of the belief of the trend that you don't pay running backs. And I know that pendulum has swung the other way over the last couple of years because of guys like a Saquon Barkley and what he did successfully in Philadelphia, because of Christian McCaffrey and the MVP caliber seasons that he's put up with some of the younger players like a Bijan Robinson and a Jahmyr Gibbs. Those guys are dynamic athletes. Alvin Kamara was kind of the front runner in that for a little bit. His career has kind of taken a little bit of a step back, but that's just also because New Orleans has taken a step back. But all of those guys were dynamic athletes, dynamic playmakers, home run hitters, and everything else under the sun. And Kenneth Walker's a good running back. It's kind of it. He's not a home run hitter. He's never been a home run hitter at the NFL level. He's not exceptionally dynamic when it comes to catching the ball out of the backfield. There's something to be said about having a good running back in today's day and age, because one truth that will always exist for the test of time in the NFL is that running the football is going to make your offense better. Being a multi-dimensional offense is going to make your offense better. But you could be multi-dimensional without allocating 13, 14, or God knows even more than that capital financially into one specific player in the backfield. I just see in Kenneth Walker a good player. I don't see a guy that I'm like, hey, I'm going to hitch the wagon to him in the backfield and think that everything is going to be awesome, that we are going to achieve the exact same things that Seattle did. I will be damned if I overpay for a really good performance in a Super Bowl. I'm just not going to do it, and I don't think NFL teams across the league should be falling for that. Someone is going to. I saw New York be rumored for Kenneth Walker as well. And like, New York is a fascinating case study, right? Because you have a running back that's on a rookie deal in Cam Scatterbo, and a pretty good rookie deal at that. He wasn't this first-round draft pick rookie. You got him on a really good rookie deal, and he has shown the ability, at least in some capacity, to be a good football player at the NFL. Injury issues, at least in his rookie year, yes. But he's been a good football player. If I'm New York, I'm taking the money that I would allocate to Kenneth Walker, and I'm spreading that elsewhere. I would get an offensive lineman. Hey, I need offensive line help. Jackson Dart we're trying. I don't know if he is, but we're trying to make him the quarterback of the future here. I'm going to get some money to make sure that I can protect him. I'm going to spend some of that money and go get him another wide receiver opposite of Malik Neighbors. The wide receiver market in free agency right now has become a little bit better than I think most people anticipated with some of the releases. Stephon Diggs, namely, him hitting the open market. I would take money and allocate it to that position rather than allocating that to a running back that, again, is not a home run hitter. And I need you to hear that. I need everybody to hear that. You've got to be a home run hitter if you're going to get top-of-the-line money. And the $13 million would put him right around the sixth highest paid running back in the league. Tell me, honestly, 310-840-4910, when you watch Kenneth Walker, do you look at him and say, this is the sixth best running back in the league? Because I don't. And by the way, that number is sixth in the league without Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs getting their long-term deals. Those guys are going to get long-term deals. But if you watch Kenneth Walker and you watch James Cook, does it look like that Kenneth Walker is better than James Cook? Because when I watch those two guys, I see the guy in Buffalo as awesome, borderline knocking on the door of being in that upper echelon of running back, and I just don't see Kenneth Walker as that. He's benefiting right now from a running back class in free agency that has good players, but they don't have great players. So because he's better than everybody else, it kind of lifts him. It makes him look a little bit more appealing than I think he actually does. Because when you just stand him in a line of running backs with everybody involved, you're getting to a couple of other players before you're deciding that, hey, I'm going to give him $13 million. He's just not a home run hitter. He's a depreciating asset. Running backs, just in general, the nature of the position is a depreciating asset, and it's an asset that depreciates very quickly. If you know anything about the world of business, right, what is the one asset that depreciates quicker than anything? It's a car. As soon as you drive that bad boy off the lot, if you try and sell that back to the dealership that you bought it from, they are going to undercut the life out of you on that deal. It's just an asset that as soon as it leaves, it is just not worth what it once was. Running back is the same thing. You're hit so frequently, you have so many touches of the football, the beating that it puts on your body makes you depreciate faster than anything, than anyone on the field. And Walker is only 25, so we're not going to do the age thing here. I think some people are doing the age bit a little bit too much with wide receivers. More on that coming up later in the show. I don't think he's too old by any stretch of the imagination, but I just look at him and I say, I think his value has been depreciating. I think his performance has been depreciating. What you saw in the Super Bowl is such a small sample size. We have 3 other years outside of his rookie year. His rookie year was his best year in the NFL. And then it's been on the decline. There's been some injuries throughout the course of his career, but his rookie year was really, really good, and he looked like, hey, this guy could be a number 1 back if he takes a few more steps again, maybe work on the speed, be a home run hitter, because again, the home run hitter thing is crucial. When you talk about having a running back, everyone talks about having a running back that radically changes the game. With one play, blink of an eye, gone, 70 yards the other way. Kenneth Walker's not that kind of guy. And in fairness, I don't know that there's a lot of guys that are that kind of guy. So I'm not paying him that money. His rookie year was his best year by a pretty significant margin. Last year, his longest rush was 55 yards. His longest rush was 55 yards. That's not a home run guy. And he didn't have a whole lot of other performances in 2025 that had rushes even remotely close to that. I mean, even in the postseason, his longest rush was 30 yards, and that was in the Super Bowl, right? That's the one that everybody remembers. He was great in that game, 30 yards, 135 yards total on 27 carries, averaged 5 yards a pop. He was awesome in that. The San Francisco game, he was really, really good in. But in the other games across the course of the season, you just don't see that explosiveness that if I'm going to shell out $13 million, that I would be needing as a running back. That 55-yard mark was the highest in the regular season by 24 yards. His next closest, longest run of the year was a 31-yarder in October against Tampa Bay. I'm not shelling out $13 million because you played really well in the last game of the season under the bright lights. I mean, that counts for something. That might get you from 11 to 11 and a half, but that's not going to take you from 11 to $13 million. Because the bigger sample size suggests that, hey, this is not what you are. The small sample size against, in fairness, a New England team that was out of its depth. Are we far enough removed to say, hey, that New England team, they got such a cakewalk to the Super Bowl that they were out of their depth in terms of what they were doing. And we all know this as smart football fans. If your offense can't do anything, it does not matter how good your defense is. Eventually, the defense is going to fail. And that's what happened. But you look deeper at his numbers, right? Again, that rookie season, he had that explosiveness. He had big runs, 60 yards, 70 yards. He had the explosiveness in the rookie year, in the sophomore, the junior, and now the senior. Look at me talking about him like he's a college kid. But in year 2, in year 3, and in year 4, it just didn't exist. He only had 2 rushes over 40 yards since his rookie year. And that includes the 55-yarder that I talked about that happened this year. That's it. That's not a $13 million per year player. Not in this league where you have genetic freaks, or you could get by with spending less money at that position to bolster up other positions that are on your team if you are in need. There's not many teams in the NFL right now that I would point to and say that team is definitively a running back away from being really, really good. If you have one, please let me know. Phone lines are open on the program. If you don't want to wait on the phones, first of all, that's a text line. So 310-840-4910. You can call, you can text us. Leave me your name when you text. I'll read it out on air. You can also follow me on Twitter at @TheDentonDay. That's the fastest way to connect with me when I'm not on the air. If you think that he's worth $13 million, I need to hear from you desperately. Somebody needs to make the argument for him because I am not willing to do that. There's too many other guys that I could get away with and say, I'm going to take this production with multiple other players and potentially allocate those $13 million to 2 players, to 3 players in the running back and just bolster the offensive line. Because again, as I mentioned, who is a running back away? Who? Can somebody point me to a direction? I know some people might say, hey, Kansas City, they're thinking about drafting Jeremiah Love. I would take Jeremiah Love. Right now, I would take Jeremiah Love. It's an easier contract. He's a little bit more of a dynamic playmaker. He has home run speed. He has home run hitting ability. We've seen it in college. I think it's fair to take a chance on him in the top 10 if you think that is going to translate to the NFL. But at the same time, you know what Kansas City has kind of sucked at since they realized that their quarterback is basically Michael Jordan of football? They don't run the football very well. I thought Isaiah Pacheco was going to be a superstar. That dude runs hard as hell. He runs like he is angry at the ground. And he's angry at you because you're standing on the ground. I mean, that guy runs with legitimate violence. I thought he was going to be a stud there. He's been good, but they don't commit to running the football. So I'm not saying they're a running back away. They need other playmakers. They need to be more dynamic on the outside before I'm saying that they're running back away. New York, as I mentioned, is not a running back away. Pittsburgh, who has been rumored to be in contention, or at least interested in Kenneth Walker, they're not a running back away. Maybe you want to argue that Denver is. I would say that Denver is their quarterback not breaking his ankle away from getting to the championship, because I think Denver would have beaten New England had Bo Nix been healthy in the AFC Championship game. But I wouldn't allocate $13 million to a running back if I was in Denver's position. I'm going to get Bo Nix more weapons on the outside and say, hey, we're kind of good with what we have going on here. Maybe we'll pick up somebody in the draft, but I'm not putting $13 million on the back of a guy just because he played really well in the Super Bowl. I can't get around to small sample size, emotional swing, big stage. Hey, this guy's going to be awesome. I'm going to put all my money, all this $13 million, I'm going to put all of that on him instead of doing what I would say is the smart decision, going for a little bit of what you would call a lesser running back and just fighting it out with that. Because again, I don't look at him as a top 6 player. If you're going to get top 6 money, you better do something. You better do one thing at top 6 level. And I don't know what he does at top 6 level. Maybe he has good vision. I'm not giving you $13 million for great vision. I need the results. Which, by the way, if you're going to come at the phones or on Twitter, on the text line, and say, well, Denton, he didn't have all these great performances. His yardage wasn't all that impressive. He only had 1,000 yards, or just over 1,000 yards, 1,027 in 2025, because he was part of a 2-back system, and that's fair. Zach Charbonnet was really good for Seattle for a pretty decent period of time. Not just this year, but for years, plural, until he tore his knee up at the end of this year. But I would ask you this. Charbonnet is good. Kenneth Walker is good. Charbonnet, definitively, not the home run hitter. They wanted Kenneth Walker to be the home run hitter. He was not the home run hitter. Like Charbonnet's numbers in terms of longest rushes, I mean, it's worse than Kenneth Walker. And by a country mile, it is worse than what Kenneth Walker put out. That guy was supposed to be a little bit more, hey, you're more of the power back. We're going to have Kenneth Walker be the speed guy. He's going to be our home run hitter. Home runs didn't come. You paying $13 million for that? I'm not doing it. I'm not biting the bullet because I saw him play well against a team in New England that was out of their depth in the Super Bowl. I'm not buying into that form of propaganda. But you let me know. If you're pro Kenneth Walker, I got to hear from you. 310-840-4910. 310-840-4910. That's our talk and text line. So you can jump at us on the phones. You can shoot a text message off. If you want it read on air, just leave me your name. Hey, this is who I am. This is what I have to say about Kenneth Walker. 310-840-4910. We're going to take some of your phone calls. How do you feel about Kenneth Walker? Would you give him $13 million? Yes or no? Your phone calls when we get back. I'm Denton Day. I'm sitting in for Josh Graham on Westwood One Sports. Don't go anywhere.
NFL free agency includes future Hall of Famers, NFL All-Pros, and Super Bowl MVPs. Big names are on the move. Where will they be headed? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
We're hanging out overnights. Westwood One Sports Night with Denton Day sitting in for Josh Graham. Josh is going to be on Bleck and Abdallah from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern time on Friday, so you can listen to him there. We're talking Kenneth Walker. Would you pay him $13 million? Talking text line is open, 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910. Personally, I wouldn't pay him $13 million. If you want to make the argument for 11, I'd be open to paying Kenneth Walker $11 million, but that $13 million mark would be a little bit too much for me. I need to see a guy that's more of a versatile playmaker in an offense, a guy that has legitimate home run ability, and I'm not making a big financial decision based off of a small sample size, albeit a very good one. Like, I'm not undercutting a Super Bowl MVP. I don't have a vote for that thing, but I would have voted for him. But I'm not making a big financial swing based off of one game, really 2 games in the postseason where he was awesome, when I have a much larger sample size to say he's good, borderline great, but he's not elite. Like a Saquon, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, all these dudes that are going to be breaking the bank at the running back position. You want to jump in? 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910. Let's start. We're going to Miami, taking our talents there. My guy Josh is on the line. Josh, what's going on, man? You're on Westwood One Sports Night.
What's going on, Denton? How we doing tonight, man?
I'm good, man. Hope you are.
I'm good. I'm just a little bit confused here. You'll say you'll give the guy $11 million, but you're kind of sketchy with $13 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a big gap right there, honestly. Who you gonna find for $2 million that's gonna really help your team? I don't see too many people out there for that. First off. Secondly, you said you don't want to base it on the Super Bowl, but I saw that man take, a 60, 70, 65-yarder to the house that got called back on some BS holding call because the bookmakers didn't want to hit the over? Come on, bro. We all saw that. You can't tell me you didn't see that.
I did see that, but it was a holding. You know, he got help on the play. What am I going to say?
Yeah. And we all know we can call holding on every single play, no? I'm sure somebody's holding somewhere on the field. And they can call that every play. We know that. But not to get into that, whatever, conspiracy theories, I'm just going to say, that guy is that team. If you don't have him there and you don't sign him and you just said it, Sharps is not probably going to play next year. So what, you're going to bring in 2 new guys? And then you're going to have to pay somebody money? I mean, hell, Chuba Hubbard is probably going for like $10 million right now. So you're telling me you'd rather have Chuba or you rather have the guy Dallas let go of last year? Those guys are commanding at least 10 to 11. So why wouldn't you pay Kenneth Walker his 13? That guy's better
Rico
than both of those
Dowdle.
two bucks easy.
You're talking Rico Dowdle, the guy that Dallas let go
Rico,
of?
yeah.
Josh, I'm going to let you go, but I want you to hear that I love Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle went crazy a couple games for Carolina and kept them in the postseason race. So the number in specific there, so you asked about the number. Why would you go 11, not 13, $2 million difference? What's the deal there? It really comes down to how he fares in the league. It's super dorky, I know. But I'm looking at it and I'm saying I'm not paying him substantially more than James Cook, because James Cook's getting about $11.5 million right now. I look at James Cook and I say that guy has, on multiple occasions, carried the offense in a way where they were thriving off of him. I saw somebody tweet this, and this is just kind of plays off the point here. I saw somebody tweet this. They compared Josh Allen's season in 2026 to that of Cam Newton when Cam Newton won the MVP. And that's just not accurate, because he had a great running back in James Cook. I think James Cook is fantastic. So it really does come down to, are you willing to break the bank for a guy that I don't think is dynamic as a player like a James Cook, right? And I know the salary cap is moving up, but I feel like there are different places where you can allocate the money. It's not that I don't want anyone to get the assumption, and not that Josh did, but I don't want anyone to get the assumption that I don't like Kenneth Walker. I would be thrilled if Washington signed Kenneth Walker. Washington, the Commanders, have not had a great running back literally in my entire lifetime. I mean, Clinton Portis was close, but outside of that, they haven't had a great running back in my entire lifetime. I would love it if they signed him, but you got to do it for the right price. And I feel like that Super Bowl performance, the Super Bowl MVP, if you're an agent, and you should be doing this, you're walking into that meeting and saying, my dude just won Super Bowl MVP. He was the best player in the final game. You're trying to get there. You're going to give him more money than you were going to give him had that game not have happened. And I'm not going to fall for that one. That, to me, is where I'm like, oh, no. We have a big sample size of what he's been like for the course of his career. I'm not just going to fall into the extra money because he played a really good game at the tail end of the final game of the season. So I would be shying away from that. We'll continue to take some of your calls, 310-840-4910. Would you pay Kenneth Walker? The rumored number is $13 million. That's also why I bring that up. I should reset that. The rumored number that made its way to the Twitter sphere today was at $13 million, and that's kind of what priced Seattle out of the sweepstakes, which, by the way, if Seattle knows that he was as good as he is, and they're not willing to pay $13 million for the Super Bowl MVP on that roster, when they know their quarterback is average, they're also willing to let Rashid Shaheed go. If they're willing to let Kenneth Walker go because they think $13 million is too much and they've had him in the building for 40 years, that should also be a little bit of a sign. Say, hey, he just won Super Bowl MVP and you're letting him walk? You feel like you can repeat without him on the roster? That should be a little bit of a sign as well. We'll continue to take some of your calls here. Let's go to James in Gainesville. James, you're on Westwood One Sports Night with Denton Day sitting in, man. How are you?
Hey, Denton, hope you're doing good. I think if Atlanta could get him, then they'd be a smart move on them. I think Atlanta's got a lot of needs. Bijan Robinson's an expensive luxury we don't really necessarily need right now. I don't think Atlanta's a playoff team with Penix under a quarterback, and I think Kenneth Walker would be a good option for him right now. And it's no worse than paying him $13 million than them franchise tagging Kyle Pitts and paying him $16, for next year. Because Kyle Pitts has been a horrible player the whole time he's been in Atlanta, except for the last of the season. And I totally disagree with them keeping him. I hope they trade him. I think Kenneth Walker would be and two, with the Commanders or somebody, if you need a upgrade and that's what's holding your team back, then do what Carolina did and make it happen like they did with Bryce Young. If you need a running back, sometimes getting that one player you need makes a difference.
James, I appreciate it. I'll tell you this: I would be flabbergasted if Atlanta signs Kenneth Walker. Bijan Robinson is him. They are not going to let him go until the wheels fall off of that. They're going to sign him to this crazy extension. He might touch Christian McCaffrey kind of money, Saquon Barkley kind of money. They are going to give Bijan Robinson the bag, and they should give Bijan Robinson the bag. You don't like Michael Penix. Kind of indifferent on Michael Penix. I loved him coming out of college. Coaching situation's been a little bit weird. The development has not been where I wanted it to be, but I would do everything in my power to put enough weapons around Michael Penix. If you're going to give him a go in 2026, the final go, I'd put enough weapons around him. And then worst case scenario, if you're Atlanta, if Penix does not work, let's just say he goes and plays 2026, sucks, right? Just doesn't win a lot of games, and you're drafting high. It's a pretty good draft class, quarterback-wise, to be drafting high in 2027. And it's really, really nice to take a young quarterback and put him in a situation where he would have a Drake London, a Bijan Robinson long-term, and then potentially 2 or 3 other weapons on the outside. That makes the transition significantly easier. So I'd still give Penix another year. I would not spend the money if I'm Atlanta on Kenneth Walker to effectively, Kenneth Walker is getting paid about $2 million, or he got paid about $2 million in 2025 because he wasn't a first-round pick, so we didn't have that big, that fifth-year option that really boosts the contract of a first-round player. So they were getting Kenneth Walker at a very, very team-friendly price, Seattle was. I would not pay him $13 million to play backseat to Bijan Robinson. If you're Atlanta, you got your dude Bijan Robinson. You're just supplementing that with guys that you're not paying a lot of money to, and you take that money. They only have about $16 million in cap space. That'll change a little bit once they officially let go of Kirk Cousins, but they only got about $16 million in cap space. You got to use that in other parts of the team to see, hey, is this Michael Penix guy, is he going to be our guy moving forward, or do we need to start looking into a few other options to say, actually, we're going to go in this direction? Speaking of Atlanta, let's stay there. Phone lines open, 310-810-4910, 310-840-4910. Ben is in Atlanta, wants to weigh in. Ben, you're on Westwood One Sports Night with Denton Day sitting in. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? I was just wanting to let you know I'm for Kenneth Walker, and to kind of go back to the Miami caller, he kind of touched on the kind of area that I look at. I like to wager, and I think the one thing that skips with Kenneth Walker, with the guys that you named, the James Cooks, the Bijan Robinsons, the Christian McCaffreys, it's the touches. So when he's playing with Seattle, and trust me, I've sweated out so many Seattle games just on his touches alone, because his over-under on touches is usually 12 to 14 a game. So I would always take the over, thinking, he'd get a hot hand and they keep playing him. But Seattle was very strict when it came to the distributions. Like, even getting into the red zone, it was Charbonnet, because they like to spread him out and be able to use his speed. So Kenneth Walker was more of the everyday 1-2, first two downs, and we didn't really get to showcase it until Charbonnet was hurt. And now you've seen it at a larger sample size. So I think when you're using the Super Bowl as like his coming out party, he was actually, pretty consistent for the amount of carries that he was getting. But, those workhorse running backs are going to get touches, consistently. So when you put him in a good offense, I think his production is going to surprise you, because he's going to get those touchdowns that he was sharing. And I don't know if you've seen Kubiak when he went to the Raiders, the very first thing that he said at his press conference was getting Ashton Genty help. Everybody that owns him or is trying to get him for draft is like, oh, no, because now he's going to get handicapped with, because he said the first thing I want is a second running back to be able to, kind of share the workload, so he's taking on those responsibilities. So, I mean, I think you're doing a great job. I understand where you're coming from with the Super Bowl coming out, but I think with 18 to 25 touches, with, receptions and running, I feel like, his production is going to match it.
Ben, that's a great call, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you stopping by the Westwood One family, as we like to call ourselves on the late nights. Dent Day, sitting in for Josh Graham. Generally, you hear me refer to as D-Day on this program, usually the producer. I'm wearing two hats tonight. We're talking Kenneth Walker, though, and Ben laid out some really good points there. Honestly, I feel like Vegas might be an interesting landing spot for Kenneth Walker, for him to be with an Ashton Genty. That's not what he was getting at, but that did pop into my head. They also have money to spend. But here would be the kind of rebuttal and the pushback to the comments that Ben made. Can you get yourself into a good offense if you start commanding top dollar? Because that's going to heavily reduce the amount of teams that might be interested. And, it's crazy. So I pulled up some numbers, right? Kenneth Walker had 221 carries, 1,027 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That's about 4.6 yards a carry. That ranked 16th in the NFL. If you look at a guy like a Bijan Robinson, which I was surprised when I pulled this number up, Bijan Robinson only carried the ball 287 times. So that's 60 times more, 65 or 66 times more than Kenneth Walker. But over the course of a 17-game season, it's really only 3 or 4 more times per game that he's touching the football. And he's just able to do a lot more with it because of the athleticism, the vision, all these different things, right? So, the discrepancy in terms of touches is it's not like Kenneth Walker is touching it only 150 times, right? Because if we're having this conversation and you look at a Bijan Robinson who's touching it almost double the amount of times that Kenneth Walker is touching it, then I totally get your point. I'm saying, hey, it almost is like a Derrick Henry situation. For those that don't remember this, Derrick Henry's first couple of years in Tennessee were not that great because he was splitting carries with DeMarco Murray. But then they got rid of DeMarco Murray. They give Derrick Henry the load, and Derrick Henry ends up becoming one of the greatest running backs of all time. We knew he was going to be good, or at least of the generation. I don't know all time, but one of the greatest running backs of a generation. We knew that he was going to be good. Kind of knew that DeMarco Murray was holding him back a little bit, but he was teaching him. They lose DeMarco Murray, put the ball in the court, and then Derrick Henry becomes Derrick Henry. It's just you don't always see that. Right, so it's not a guarantee that Kenneth Walker is going to become that. I mean, he still was top 20 in the league in terms of carries, yet he's 16th in yards, where Bijan Robinson is 4th in yards with nearly 1,500 because he's averaging almost a full yard. He's averaging about half a yard more per carry than what Kenneth Walker was doing. So, like, that sort of thing matters a little bit. And that's it feels like when you see on paper, all right, this guy's averaging 4.6 yards a carry versus this guy averaging 5.2 yards a carry, that doesn't look that big. But then when you see those numbers side by side, nearly 1,500 yards versus just over 1,000 yards, that's a pretty substantial difference over the course of a 17-game season. So I get where he's coming from, where if he gets a bigger load in an offense that he can be more successful. I just don't know what offenses that are going to be good quality offenses are going to be willing to shell out $13 million for Kenneth Walker. Because again, I am an older, new school kind of thinker when it comes to running backs. It's not a premium position. I'm not willing to pay top dollar, close to top dollar. I think what you're seeing right now with these running backs getting paid heavily, good for them. Like, hey, when it comes to the players, I'm capitalist, baby. Go get your money. The NFL is the not for long league, right? You only have such a small window to be in the NFL. Go get your money. But I'm just not. I don't know that Kenneth Walker is $13 million there, right? And I don't know that he would land in a good offense. Honestly, I'd feel like he'd be landing not a Jets situation because they franchise tagged Breece Hall, but like remember when Le'Veon Bell went to the Jets? Because the Steelers weren't going to give him the money, and it didn't go very well. So for all of the Derrick Henry stories where it excels, and he excels because he gets more touches, you have the other sides too where they don't excel, and then they try and fight Logan Paul on Twitter, which hopefully Kenneth Walker would not do, but I would pay any money to see Logan Paul get knocked out at this specific point in time. We'll continue to take some more of your phone calls, 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910. Would you give Kenneth Walker $13 million, the rumored amount that he is asking for? You can get at me on the talk text line. You can get at me on YouTube as well. We're simulcast on Twitter and YouTube. It's Dent Day sitting in for Josh Graham on a Westwood One Sports Night. We have a date for Jason Tatum's return. I'm going to share that with you, plus an all-time one-liner from his head coach. That comes your way next on Westwood One Sports Night.
The Patriots are releasing star receiver Stephon Diggs. Will the AFC champions look to acquire Eagles standout A.J. Brown and reunite him with Mike Vrabel? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
A major accomplishment in the NBA, another tick on the belt for LeBron James. I'll get to that in a couple minutes. You're also going to hear one of the greatest one-liners from Joe Mazzulla, potentially ever. But we have a date. Fingers crossed. Jason Tatum is going to be playing basketball tonight, if you're on the East Coast. If you're not on the East Coast, tomorrow. Friday, we will see Jason Tatum return from injury off of what is traditionally, I feel like, one of the most difficult common injuries, because we see the Achilles injury happen all the time, unfortunately, but specifically in basketball just because of the muscles used to play at a high level. He is coming back from an injury that I thought was going to take him out for the entire season. And he's coming back with a good amount of season left to play and to potentially lift Boston to another championship. Be almost their white knight, their knight in shining armor, their savior, messiah, however you want to call it, not to be blasphemous. But to be the guy that would come back and put Boston definitively head over shoulders above everybody else in the Eastern Conference. And I don't want to get away from the Jaylen Brown stuff because Jaylen Brown has done a hell of a job for Boston, and everybody in the absence of Jason Tatum has done a hell of a job for Boston. But it really is one of the remarkable feats that you are going to see if Jason Tatum comes back after about 8 months on the shelf, returning from an injury that traditionally will keep a guy out for at least 11. Usually more in the 12 to 13 range. Like, he tore his Achilles in the postseason game last year, and I thought, that's it. This is, like, we're not going to see Jason Tatum for a while. I thought they were going to completely blow up the Celtics in the operation that we knew them as, because, hey, this is not working anymore. Now you're allocating so much money to all these dudes. Do we think that Jaylen Brown can be a legit number one? even in a weak Eastern Conference, like, is he that dude? The answer to that question has been a resounding yes. Like, Jaylen Brown has been that guy, but I do feel like the focus is going to be on Tatum. Hey, he is returning from this injury. He's doing a little bit of a rollout in the return of this injury. He's doing what now every player is doing. He has his docuseries that is on his YouTube channel, and I went and I watched all of them today in the lead up for the show. Now, there's something you should know about me personally. I am a fiend for, like, athlete documentaries. I love them. I am so fascinated by the world that athletes live. I'm a fan before I did this whole, like, radio bit. So I just love seeing the life behind the floor. Not the scenes, because it's not like sports or a show, but the life outside of basketball for a basketball player, football for a football player, just to kind of see how they move, to see how they recover from big injuries. I love that teams are embracing this. I think most NFL teams do this now. I think most NBA teams are starting to do this now. I think it would be really, really smart if hockey teams started doing this, because hockey players are crazy, but they're crazy in, like, the fun, entertaining way, not the crazy in the way that, like, certain other people are in this country that are near me. That's not for now. I want to see the behind-the-scenes look. So Jason Tatum is doing the behind-the-scenes bit. Now, his is short, right? Like, he's put out 4 episodes in, like, a 4-day period. I think the longest episode might have touched 4 minutes. Like, they're really, really short episodes, which I feel like kind of robbed about. Maybe this is, like, just trailers for the ultimate, like, 90-minute, 2-hour long epic of Jason Tatum's return, because there's a lot of stuff that happens over the course of 8 months, right? And especially when you're coming back from an injury that traditionally people don't come back from. Like, there's a lot of story to be told there. So selfishly, I kind of wish that they gave us a little bit more of the behind-the-scenes look, so I could kind of start to, dare I say, root for Jason Tatum again. Yeah, he became, unlikable is not a fair word, but he kind of became the butt of the joke on most social media platforms because of the way that he carries himself a little bit, right? Like, the dichotomy between Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton for the whole Olympic situation has been fascinating. Jason Tatum is very, very upset that he didn't play in the Olympics. Tyrese Halliburton was making jokes to LeBron James about not playing in the Olympics, right? The way that they won the championship in Boston. And I don't know, Tatum has just come off as this dude that is a little bit more standoffish, if you will, from a personal standpoint, right? At least to the outward-facing people. And I don't know that that's a fair representation of who he is, right? Like, I just don't know. But we are only given so much. So this, like, to me, this would be fantastic if you have this long documentary. No, like, he's actually not standoffish at all. Like, he's just a real person that has been the butt of jokes because he plays for the Celtics, and here's what he's like personality. Here's his vulnerabilities recovering from this crazy injury. Here's this humanity that sometimes it feels like we don't see with athletes. Well, here's Jason Tatum's humanity. And the biggest way that you can flip a dude who has been maybe on the outs with how people feel about him to being beloved is show the humanity. Like, I love seeing the humanity behind some of the really great players in the league. Now, there are some people that might be gone. I mean, Draymond Green pulled a dude's ankle again today. And Jabari Smith running by, Draymond Green lifts his ankle up there. Like, I don't know that I need to see that. I don't know that Draymond is ever going to heal the public image because of some of the antics on the court. But I think Jason Tatum could. So I'm, like, selfish. I want to see the long, drawn-out documentary. I also want to see him play basketball. The NBA needs good star power right now because a lot of the stars are either on the West Coast or at least star power in the Eastern Conference. A lot of the stars are on the West Coast or their teams in the Eastern Conference suck. Giannis and the Bucks, not very good. Not going to be able to watch them. Philadelphia, Embiid's kind of been battling injuries as of late. That's a little unfortunate. Toronto doesn't have a superstar on the East Coast. They got superstars in Canada. I'm sure there's a bunch of people that love basketball in Canada that maybe really love, like, a Scotty Barnes. That doesn't really translate to those of us that are a little bit below in the States down here, right? Like, there's just not a superstar there. So in a postseason that has an absence of superstars in the Eastern Conference, getting Jason Tatum back and then getting a potential rematch with the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks, a great matchup between the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell, James Harden versus Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, getting the young guys in Detroit and Cade Cunningham, getting to see him go eye to eye with a Boston Celtics team that's not that far removed from winning a championship, something that Detroit is trying to get back to. Like, there are a lot of storylines that really become interesting in the Eastern Conference if Jason Tatum is now apart and healthy with the Boston Celtics. So I hope that he not only plays later tonight on Friday, I hope he plays well. And I hope it's very easy to integrate him back into what they have going on here, because that's the other thing about this. Jaylen Brown has been playing at an MVP level, but he's been doing it by himself, right? Or in the absence of Jason Tatum. Like, he has not had to worry about Jason Tatum the way that it felt like they were pitted against each other for a little bit, which, again, felt maybe a little illegitimate. But it's a very big difference when there is not this other superstar on the floor with you, and on a nightly basis, you are option number 1 and option number 2. And he's been doing a really great job of that. How is that going to look when Jason Tatum comes back? Because he is not coming back to play, third fiddle to Jaylen Brown's number 1 and number 2, right? That's just not how that's going to work. So I'm very intrigued to see what that dynamic is going to be over the next couple of weeks. I feel like that's why they kind of needed him to come back when they're having him come back, so you could see that, I feel like, play out over the course of the final few weeks and months of the NBA regular season, get their ducks in a row, and then, hey, these guys are going to go compete for a championship. I also want you to hear this, because I stumbled across this on social media. Joe Mazzulla is hit or miss for me in terms of what he does at the press conference. Sometimes I think he's a little bit of a cocky a-hole. Sometimes I think he's hilarious. This was not a press conference moment, but he jumped on a local radio show in Boston, and he gave one of my favorite Joe Mazzulla one-liners ever. I don't know how many times this will be applicable in my life. Maybe it's applicable every day. Hear this. This is Joe Mazzulla with one of my new favorite one-liners of all time.
I mean, I go to bed questionable. I wake up probable.
That is like the simplest, dumbest thing in the world, but hot damn, I love that. That popped me way more than it's Oliver. I listened to this probably about 6 times, and every now and then. So I tell Oliver this, and I tell Linnell and Josh this before we start shows. Sometimes people comment on our YouTube page, which, by the way, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube page, subscribe to our YouTube page. Search Westwood One Sports Night. We're on the road for 1,000 subs. We're building this from the ground. We're going to hit 600 a night. I'm guaranteeing it. We're going to hit 600 a night. But sometimes before the show, I watch compilations of people. And Linnell has said this, that sometimes to go to bed, he watches Kurt Signetti compilations. Every now and then, usually I watch Jeff Teague podcast compilations because I think the podcast is hilarious. But every now and then I'll get kind of in the rabbit hole of Joe Mazzulla. I don't think he intends to be as funny as he is, but he is funny. And he has these catchphrases where it almost feels like if you were my age in the high school to young college age during the Tumblr craze, it feels like he got a lot of Tumblr quotes posted in his room somewhere or posted on his phone that he can just drop on a whim. He just studies basketball and Tumblr quotes that he can just give out to the ether so he can drop something like I go to bed questionable and I wake up probable. That's just a hilarious thing. They were trying to get answers, the Boston radio show was, about the Jason Tatum thing, and that's the answer that he ended up giving. So I'm excited to see what Jason Tatum is going to look like coming up later tonight. And look, man, Boston's 9-1 right now to win a championship. And I'm a gambler. I'm going to tell you, if Jason Tatum is back and healthy, you got to put your money on Boston to win a championship. We'll continue taking some more of your calls. Plus, I think Tom Brady's time for him to get out of the booth in Fox. I'll tell you why next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
It's Westwood One Sports Night. Denton Day sitting in for Josh Graham on a Thursday, now into Friday on the East Coast and Central Coast, or Central Timeline, Central Zone, Time Zone. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDentonDay. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and do that. We're on our race to 1,000, but we need to get to 600 by the end of the night. That's the milestone that I have set, and I do not want to disappoint Linnell or Josh. I'm sitting in for them, so I have to do my part. I got to carry my weight in this operation and get us to 1,000. Plus, if you want to watch on YouTube, I took the hat off. So you got this egghead that I got going on here. This hat that somebody made fun of me for wearing this hat. They said the dog got the better of the hat. The dog did get the better of the hat. He actually destroyed a hat before then, and I was very upset. He did get the better of this Maryland Whipsnakes hat. You can connect on the show on the YouTube chat. I'll be reading some of those. I'll be posting some of those, especially as we get later into the night. Y'all know how we do it. That 2 a.m. hour gets a little raunchy in like a fun way. Don't cancel us. But we'll be interacting with the chat. You can call us as well, 310-840-4910. That's a talk and text line, so you can text us as well, and at @TheDentonDay on Twitter. I was just talking about Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is projected to return for the Boston Celtics tonight. I'm really excited about seeing what Jason Tatum is going to look like for Boston and what that's going to be for Boston. And by the way, I just did bet them to win the championship. So that's not like this thing where I gave it before I went to break and then we're never going to talk about it again. I just bet Boston 9-1 to win a championship because I'm expecting that Tatum is not only going to come back, but he is going to integrate himself back into what they're doing offensively and defensively. And then if I'm being honest, if you give me OKC versus Boston, Boston in 6. Comfortably. Jaylen Brown puts Shai Gilgeous-Alexander through hell. 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910. Let's go up to the New England area. Jim is in New Hampshire. He wants to talk about Jason Tatum. Jim, you're on the program. What's going on?
Hey, good morning, and thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
And I'd love your opinion because I think Tatum's going to come back. They're going to play great together, and they're going to do some damage. They're going to be good. I think they'll win a championship.
Yeah, Jim, I'm right there with you.
I went out tonight, and I did something I haven't done in years. I've been going to games since Larry Bird was a rookie. Yeah. And I got courtside seats for San Antonio. Yeah, I just got an inheritance from someone who passed away in Florida, and I said, you know what, I'm going to sit courtside. I'll sit there with the Wahlbergs and Mr. Kraft.
Wait, hold on. Did you get to meet any of these people? Like, did you shake anybody's hand, say hello?
Well, I will. I'm not going yet.
Oh, you're going tomorrow. You're going tomorrow. And you're going for Jason Tatum's return tomorrow. That's going to be awesome. Cooper Flagg might be back, too.
You know, and hey, I appreciate your respect for the Celtics, and I think we're going to hang another one up. And thank you so much, and I'll keep your numbers up there.
Hey, Jim, I appreciate that. That's Jim in New Hampshire joining us here. I just want to make one thing clear. The respect for the Celtics is almost fully dependent on whether or not they monetarily satisfy this bet. Because let me tell you, if they don't satisfy this bet, and I just lost $4 that I placed, that's an important $4 in this economy. You know, so it's like solely dependent on whether or not they win a championship. We got a couple guys in our YouTube chat saying, hey, they think that Tatum and Brown duo reunited is going to bring the Celtics a championship. Again, I'm going to put Tatum and Brown, especially the way that Jaylen Brown has been playing right now, I'm going to put that duo up against any other duo right now in the NBA. Right? Like, as long as the Tatum return doesn't completely undercut the legs of what Jaylen Brown has been doing for Boston this year, which I don't think it will. Yeah, that's the benefit of these guys having played so long together. I kind of feel like they understand how they want to move. And it almost feels like the reuniting of Tatum and Brown is going to be like riding a bike. Like, you haven't had that for a while. I don't ride bikes in the winter, right? It's cold. It's icy. I'm not riding a bike in the winter. If I ride the bike in the summer, though, after 8 months or whatnot, 6 months of not riding a bike, the first quarter mile might be tough, and then I'm back on there riding a bike. I think it's going to be the same thing with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, right? First game or two might be a little weird, wonky. Hey, this guy's new. He hasn't been here for the entire season, but then they're going to pick right back up, and it'll be all good, and they'll be moving. I'm Jet Day. I'm sitting in for Josh Graham. One more call before I just completely obliterate Tom Brady. If you don't like Tom Brady, you're gonna love what I'm about to say. Brandon is in Chicago, though. Brandon, finishes up here on callers before I take to Tom Brady's handsome ass to the cleaners.
Hey, what's good, Den? Thanks for taking my call tonight, man.
Of course.
I agree with you, man, on the Celtics. You know, they get down on defense. and they got Jaylen Brown that can, drive the ball and then kick it out to all the shooters, and they added Vucevic. I know Pritchard has kind of fallen off the last couple games, but, he's been solid, man, as well. But, the reason why I was calling you tonight is, because of the trade the Bears made. But one other thing I wanted to get to is I think it would be, really good content, if somebody did like a Dynasty series documentaries, you saw how well The Last Dance did. You could do like a before, during, and after effect of it. And, I just think that would be really cool. And another thing, if somebody's in the Boston area, you can make some shirts saying, I go to bed questionable and I wake up probable.
I'd buy one of the. Honestly, I'd buy one of those shirts. I appreciate the call. Now, Brandon, I will tell you this. I want to make note of one of the comments that you just made, just because my producer mind is jumping in front here. That's a great call topic that we are going to do during the summer. What is the team that best deserves a dynasty type of documentary? I would say probably the Kansas City Chiefs right now. If they were smart enough to start the before Mahomes became the modern-day Jordan, the during, which was crazy. I know he had some cameras for the Netflix series one of those years that were following him around. Hopefully they have other footage from those time frames. And I got to think, most of these social media teams for NFL organizations and for NBA organizations, they're just constantly rolling footage. They constantly have social media producers and camera people kind of just hanging around the players. So I got to think there'd be some good footage there of Kansas City. But that's a great call question that we'll get to this summer. Proven's upset at me. He says there's no respect for Detroit. Look, man, Cade Cunningham is going to be a dog for a long time. We just got to see it in the postseason. You know what I mean? Like we oftentimes see really good young teams. They got to take their licks a little bit in the postseason before I'm going to anoint them as a championship contender, especially if Jason Tatum integrates the way that I think he will. And if he's back and healthy, that duo is just so good, and they have championship experience that it does lend me to believe that Detroit is a year away from being a legit championship contender. They'll be good. I don't think they're – a lot of people I've seen on Twitter saying that Detroit, hey, they're going to be one and done in the postseason, like they're going to get bounced by the 8th seed. I don't think that's going to happen. Even if that 8th seed does end up being the scorching Charlotte Hornets, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Detroit will handle that first round. It's that second and third round that I'd be a little bit more cautious and a little bit more worried about. I'm Denton Day. I'm sitting in for Josh Graham on a Westwood One Sports Night. Generally the producer of this show. I'm getting the opportunity to have some fun, hang out with you guys for 4 hours. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, we are on the road to 1,000. We need to get to 600 by the end of the night. I made a promise to both Josh and Linnell. I said, guys, I will get you to 600. You guys just have to do the heavy lifting after that, starting next week, because I'm back on the show tomorrow. But starting next week, you guys have to do the heavy lifting after that. So you got to get us to 600. You can see my bald head. I did my makeup today. We're simulcast on YouTube like we are each and every night, even without those two guys in the chair. It's time to pivot back to the NFL here. You got to get Tom Brady out of the Fox booth, like immediately, if not sooner. I'm tired of this handsome dude getting all the privileges. It pays to be handsome, right? The handsome people get away with everything. And Tom Brady has, like, very sneakily just been getting away with some things that he should not be getting away with. When we first had this conversation, this dispute, right, these complaints, hey, that guy's in a broadcast booth who gets insane access, but he's also the owner of a team, something we have never seen before. When we first started having those conversations, the way that it was positioned to me, Tom Brady's not that involved in Vegas. This is a business opportunity for Tom. He wants to get involved with an NFL team. It's the hottest thing you can buy right now in the marketing world. He wants to get involved, business world rather. He wants to get involved with an NFL team. He's made a lot of money over the course of his career. This is a financial thing, and he just wants to be involved with an NFL team. And I thought, I don't really buy that, but everybody else is seeming to buy that, so I am just going to lay low here, and we're going to see what will happen. Shockingly, or not shockingly, what has happened is that Tom Brady's been getting involved, to the point where John Spytek, who is the general manager of the operation, said about a week and a half ago, this just went like, it flew right under the radar. He said a week and a half ago, Tom Brady is very in the loop. Listen to what he told, I believe this is CBS Sports. Listen to what he told CBS about Brady's involvement in the day-to-day operations of personnel with the Raiders.
Should you choose a quarterback and develop a young quarterback? Is that something that Tom would be involved in?
Tom's involved in everything, football-wise. So anything that we do, I let him know about and we communicate about. So, I mean, obviously there's an expectation with the first pick in the draft and all the money that we have that he's going to be involved in all that stuff. Any quarterback we have, you know, there's a different evaluation process and really what's called pressure that comes with having Tom in the building. You know, he has an expectation for the way that that position needs to be played and what goes into playing that way, the process, the preparation, all of that, way before the results. And so, you know, I mean, whoever's lined up behind center week one, there's a little bit more pressure probably because of who's in our building.
So Tom is helping with everything. He is involved in what is going on in Las Vegas. How does that work? I'm going to need somebody to explain that to me like I'm an idiot. To quote the great philosopher that is Michael Scott, explain that to me like I'm 5 years old. How this dude, Tom Brady, who actually had the nerve to question us for even questioning him about this. He got on this ESPN article that I pulled up here talking about integrity. He doesn't want to disrupt the integrity of the game. Anyone that is questioning what he would do is paranoid and distrustful. Brother, we got Google. We know how you won some of them championships. I'm not even like a Deflategate truther, by the way. Like, I don't care about that. They won that game 42-7. Like, did it really make a difference? Probably not. But the thing is, if you're doing it then, you might have been doing it before in a game that it might have made a difference. Oh, by the way, your coach also did the Spygate situation, which, again, I'm not naive to the idea that other teams were doing something similar. I am not of the belief that Bill Belichick is such a genius that he was the only one that thought to tape another team in 2000, right? Like, that did not happen. Everybody else was doing that. In fact, if you weren't doing that, you were an idiot. However, we know that you did that. We know that you took a little bit of liberties. Why would this not be the same thing? Why would this be any different? You have unprecedented access to guys, coaches, players that are actively in the league playing against a team that not only are you financially invested in, but you are now impacting and playing a massive role in the operations for how that team goes about. At the Combine a week ago, they had availability for general managers and coaches, right? They do this every single year. Put a general manager, put a coach in front of a microphone. It's been in most instances, it's been a couple of months since teams did their end of season pressers. So it's nice to get these guys in front of a microphone, in front of media, right? In Washington, somebody asked Adam Peters about Brandon Ayuk. And Adam Peters had one of the greatest Matrix level dodges, effectively saying that dude's under contract with a team right now. I think most of us realize outside of this that Brandon Ayuk is not going to be with the San Francisco 49ers. In fact, they have told us he is not going to be there, or they have said he's likely not going to be there. But Adam Peters kind of dodged the question. Hey, he's on a contract. I can't say anything that's tampering. Brady can go to them. Like, he is talking to these guys regularly. How does that work? How does that work? Somebody needs to explain that to me like I'm an idiot. Because right now I'm being treated like an idiot. If this dude is this involved, and he got his main squeeze, not Giselle, this dude, Alex Guerrero, the guy that helped sour the relationship of the greatest coach and quarterback duo that we have ever seen in the NFL. That dude is boots on the ground in Vegas, a direct pipeline even when Tom Brady is not there to what is happening. So directly involved there and has unprecedented access to what's going on in the Fox booth. And that's just allowed to happen. Roger Goodell, who I thought had a sore spot for Tom Brady because of the Patriots situation, they must have made up behind closed doors or something here, because he is letting that dude get away with theft. Like, absolute theft of $1 billion corporation. I can't believe this is happening. And it's like no one is talking about it. This dude's going to mentor Fernando Mendoza, which he should. You know, I don't have any. I need to make it clear. I don't have any issue with Tom Brady being involved with the Raiders. In fact, you should be involved with the Raiders. You're Tom Brady, and you're part of the ownership group. Go earn the cut that you paid it for. But him getting to be involved while also getting something like $350 million from Fox to call games, that's like two magnets, right? That's a North Pole and a South Pole, and they just ain't. I guess that's two North Poles. I don't play with magnets. I'm 30, but that's just two magnets, and they are not connecting. No matter how hard you're pushing, they're just gonna go in different directions. That doesn't make any sort of sense. By the way, the Alex Guerrero thing is kind of weird too. He loves that dude, like really loves that dude. Like, is he that good at medicine? I did see Brian Hoyer be like, I actually always felt good after visiting Alex Guerrero. I was like, all right, I mean, that's decent to know, but I don't know that that's incredibly helpful for what's going on in Vegas right now, because the rumor is that there are people that are not very happy with what Tom Brady and Alex Guerrero were doing in Vegas, which was the rumor was in New England and led to the split of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. Alex Guerrero might be a home wrecker. Like, I confirmed at this point, he might be a home wrecker. On Dent Day, I'm sitting in for Josh Graham, D-Day, as I'm routinely called on this show, sitting in for Josh Graham on a Westwood One Sports Night. We got about 90 minutes left. I'm putting Oliver on the spot here. Oliver, we need to get you a nickname. I'm realizing in real time as I call myself a nickname. Josh is the Kang of North Kakalaki, according to Linnell Willingham. Linnell Willingham is the YIC, the youngest in charge. I got D-Day. We got to decide a nickname. And do you already have a nickname, Oliver? If not, we got to decide a nickname for you by the end of the show today. That's our mission.
I would say outside of Ollie, nothing really pops to mind. I'm going to leave that up to you three to figure that out, because I feel like if I give myself a nickname, that's kind of weird.
I need the talk and text line to fire up 310-844-4910, 310-844-4910. I need the YouTube chat to fire up. The YouTube chat, they're friendly with us, right? They got good suggestions. I need the YouTube chat to fire up. We need a nickname for Oliver by the end of the show. We also need you to get 600 subscribers. So subscribe to our YouTube page at Westwood One Sports Night. We're on a quest to get to 1,000 by the end of the month of March. You get long-form content, you get shorts up there, and you get the show live 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. every single day. And then if you missed it, you don't stay up that late, you get it in its entirety after that. So go subscribe to us on YouTube. It's Westwood One Sports Night. We are presented by Progressive Commercial Insurance. We're protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. When we get back, Miami of Ohio's athletic director is fighting back against what he calls bias against small schools. You'll hear what he said this morning on our very network when we get back. Dent Day sitting in for Josh Graham on Westwood One Sports Night. Don't go anywhere.
Selection Sundays in 10 days. March Madness is coming in hot, and we've got the basketball brains to get your bracket ready. From your official home of the NCAA tournament, Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
Westwood One Sports Night. Denton Day sitting in for Josh Graham here on a Thursday, now Friday morning. I'm going to be back tomorrow as well. Josh on with Fleck and Abdallah from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday. He's also going to be at Duke, Carolina this weekend. I'm very jealous about that. I went to one of those games earlier. It was awesome. It's March. It's March Madness. The topic of conversation this entire week in college basketball has been dominated by Miami of Ohio, and should they get into the NCAA tournament if they were to stumble in their conference tournament, if they're not getting the automatic bid from their conference tournament. This is a philosophical question more than anything. Miami of Ohio is a character in this conversation, but it's a philosophical one of what is the NCAA tournament actually? Is this about defining who is the best, deciding who is the best, and finding the best applicable champion? Or is this about fun? Is this about whimsy? Is this about joy? Is this about the tournament, the reality of what it is? It's a crack hit. I've never done crack, so maybe I'm not the right person to speak on that. But it is this massive hit of adrenaline that you get on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of really that first weekend. And if we're being honest with ourselves, it's the greatest thing that we have in American sports exclusively because of that first weekend. Because it's nonstop. It's madness for a reason. You get everybody in action in such a small window, and you have upsets, and you have buzzer beaters, and oh my God, my bracket's busted, and you got all these different things. You got you who have crunched the numbers, and you've watched so much college basketball this year having your bracket ruined by Sunday, and then your wife, your daughter, your girlfriend, your son, someone in your life who doesn't watch college basketball and picked the matchups based off of mascots. I had a cousin of mine who liked the word butt, and he picked Butler every single year. And he almost won the damn thing in back-to-back years. He just thought the word butt was funny because that's what happens when you're like a 10-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid, whatever it was. And he would routinely do better than me. I spent hours reading magazines about numbers. And the guy that picked butt Butler because he liked the word butt was doing better than me. Like, that's what this tournament brings. It is a crack hit. But in order to be a crack hit, you got to have some mid-majors. Maybe more mid-majors than you might otherwise think. This came because of Bruce Pearl and comments that Bruce Pearl made earlier in the week about Miami of Ohio. So here's Bruce Pearl suggesting, and this was on Turner, suggesting that Miami of Ohio is not in if they don't win the conference championship.
Miami, Ohio, here's the deal. Are we going to select the 68 most deserving teams, or are we going to select the 68 best teams? If we're selecting the 68 best teams, then Miami, Ohio is going to have to win their tournament to qualify as a champion. Because as an at-large, they are not one of the best teams in the country. And that's going to be a difficult choice for the committee to make.
We have this conversation all the time in college football. I'm a college football junkie. There's maybe some of you that have heard me if you're a fan of Sirius XM. I do the college football overtime show every single Saturday after games, right? I love that stuff, like injected into my veins. I do not think the NCAA tournament and college football playoff should be looked at as the same thing. For the college football playoff, I want the best teams. I don't care nothing about who deserves to be where. I want the best teams because the college football playoff and just football in general is a lot easier when you're just taking one-game sample sizes to adequately decide who is the better team, find out who is the better team, and then crown a worthy champion. In March Madness, it is not that. It is not. To me, this has never been about deciding the best team. Ever. That's why you play the tournament with so many teams. How many great teams have lost because some 5'9" white dude that looks like me got really hot from three? Or because for whatever reason, a 7'3" Zach Edey couldn't box out a 6'6" power forward from, who was that, Fairleigh Dickinson? They didn't have a guy that was over like 6'7" on that roster. And they beat number 1 Purdue. This has never been about deciding, or the best and most efficient way of deciding who the best team is. It's always been about madness. It's always been about fun. It's always been the crack hit. It's about throwing things at the wall and seeing who can withstand the most amount of madness, which in a way is determining who the best team is. But there's been a lot of really good basketball teams that got ousted really early because they just didn't have it on that day. So why would we then disregard the regular season, and in this instance, Miami of Ohio, for a team that's on the bubble, particularly as it relates to Bruce Pearl, the team that he stopped coaching and then gave to his son, which he said this week was blatant nepotism. Can't hate a man for being honest, I guess. I can hate the action, but can't hate the man for being honest. He's effectively arguing that Miami of Ohio should not be in and Auburn should be in if Miami of Ohio does not win their conference tournament. Auburn's like, they're scratching for 20 wins, bro. Are we serious right now? Like, are we for real? They're scratching for 20 wins. You play in a power conference. You got all these damn recruits. 4 stars, 3 stars, 5 stars maybe. You got all this damn money. You're scratching for 20 wins, and you'd be thinking that you should be getting in over the team that's right now undefeated? What's the plot of this? Like, why do we line up to play the games? Well, Bruce Pearl addressed that as well in the same, 2-minute clip about him saying that Miami, Ohio maybe shouldn't be in.
Your son as well with all.
Yeah, I mean, you got to play your way in, or you're going to lose your way out. It's just that simple with all these teams. And Mash, to your question, for the mid majors and low majors, it's all about the tournament because they recognize there's only going to be a 1-bid league. For the rest of the leagues, it's all about the grind.
Correct.
Of a regular season championship, and I think that's what.
You see how he kind of minimizes the mid majors a little bit there? Does Gonzaga get that same treatment? No, is the answer to that. By the way, because they get a free pass. Gonzaga, so it's all about the power conferences in Gonzaga. And then everybody else, you got to win the conference championship. You didn't grind the same way that everybody else grinded. What's the point of even having anybody suit up then? Like what is I expected better from a guy that knows better. And he's since walked these back a little bit. I don't think he expected the backlash that he was going to get from comments like this. But we had the AD of Miami on with Drake Toll on Thursday morning. And this conversation was fantastic. It's podcasted. You got to go listen to it. Drake did a fantastic job with the athletic director from Miami. Here's David Saylor talking about the bias in the Power Four that he feels like is hampering his team.
The other part is just the way that the Power Four conference is. I've been quoting Yoda a little bit because I feel like we're fighting the evil empire. And you just can't win. You try to schedule games. Matt Brown has a piece out today. He FOIA'd our assistant coach who does scheduling, and there's at least 30 emails that, he offered to play people on certain dates that they had open, and we never got a response or we got a negative response. And that's not even in addition to all the calls that he was making to get those games scheduled. And so they don't let you play, and then at the end they criticize you for not playing anybody. It's a double-edged sword.
I find that to be such a fascinating admission of information. He's on one side of it. I've been listening to college basketball former coaches, pundits on television saying that no, you can't use that excuse. If you really wanted to make the game happen, you could have made it happen. He's telling you right now, we got ghosted, bro. You've been ghosted before. You can try as you might. At a certain point, you got to have a little bit of you got to stand up for yourself a little bit. You can't keep getting ghosted and then keep going back to the well. It sounds like they're getting ghosted. I'm going to need at some point to see some receipts. And I hope it doesn't get to the point where they start having to pump out these receipts. But at some point, I'm going to need to see some receipts. Like, all right, if this is true, like we have like legit, we can prove this. Hey, you got emails? Let's drop them. Who's saying no? Who doesn't want to play? And if that is the case, why don't they want to play? Because I'm in agreement with what he is saying right now in that there are teams that do not want to play. The non-conference in college basketball, very similarly, it feels like to the non-conference in football, teams just want to schedule easy wins. Now, the laughability in this is that I think maybe there's a lot of teams that would have penciled in Miami of Ohio, who in KenPom right now is just barely inside the top 100 if you pay attention to the KenPom. I think there are a lot of teams in the Power 4 conferences, Power 5 in college basketball because I count the Big East. But there are a lot of teams in the Power 5 conferences that would have looked at Miami of Ohio as a relatively easy win. Like if you are super talented, like Duke ain't scared of them, all right? You know what I mean? Like Michigan, not scared of them. Maybe some of the lower tier teams in those conferences, maybe they would be not shaking in their boots, but a little bit more like on edge about that. But I'm gonna need to see some like receipts. Who is afraid of the smoke? Who just wants to play? Because Miami did not play a tough non-con. That's like the one downside of their argument right now. But again, this is less about them as far as I'm concerned and more about the philosophy. What is the tournament? What do we want the tournament to be? I want it to be the fun. I'm okay with a team in Miami of Ohio, who I know is not going to win a championship, getting in over an Auburn team who I also know is not going to win a championship. We have seen them get beat up by teams that they would have to beat. At the very least with like a Miami of Ohio or whoever is the next Miami of Ohio, because there will be someone else in a similar position that's going to have this kind of argument. It doesn't matter how many teams we expand this damn tournament to, which we will eventually. It doesn't matter how many teams we expand this damn tournament to. One of the small schools is going to be getting left out by the big school. They're not going to be happy about it. Or there's going to be the threat of a small school being let out in favor of a big school, and they're not going to be happy about that. It's going to happen. Why do I want to see a team that has already gotten beaten up by most of the good teams play them more? That is not appealing to me. At the very least, there's the hope and the prayer that only the tournament offers that maybe Miami of Ohio could steal a game from like Florida. Would I be putting my hard-earned American currency on it? No. But could it happen? We've seen crazier things. We've seen UMBC do it to UVA. We've seen Fairleigh Dickinson do it to Purdue. I don't even know where Fairleigh Dickinson is. I do know where the UMBC is. I wrote a column on that after it happened when I was a newspaper writer, and I called them the Terriers. And at the time, they were called the Golden Terriers, and I got an email so fast. I don't know who they had doing PR for that. It was crazy. I got an email 4 minutes after I hit publish on the damn thing. That was nuts. But UMBC, I'm very familiar with them, right? We've seen crazy things happen. I would much rather see like a Miami of Ohio get in versus a team that got their ass kicked for like 15 games in a Power 4 conference. But I'm just supposed to think that they're going to be much better. I don't got time for that. If you're much better, be much better during the regular season. That's the point of playing the games in the first place. At least as far as I'm concerned. I'm Denton Day. I'm sitting in for Josh Graham here on Westwood One Sports Night. Josh is going to be back on next Wednesday. He's doing Bleck and Abdallah tomorrow. So he's going to be in with Adam, getting you set, Duke, Carolina. Really excited about that. I was there in Chapel Hill a couple weeks ago. Excellent. I got a story to tell about that on tomorrow's program as we get closer to Duke and Carolina. LeBron James hit another milestone. I'm going to share that with you. It's a big one when we get back. I'm Dead Day. Don't go anywhere.
NFL free agency includes future Hall of Famers, NFL All-Pros, and Super Bowl MVPs. Big names are on the move. Where will they be headed? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
Is Denton Day on Westwood One Sports Night, sitting in for Josh Graham on a Thursday, now Friday. In most portions of the country, Josh is in on Bleck and Abdallah this week, so you'll hear him at noon to 3 Eastern time on Friday. He'll be back on this show on Wednesday. Someone asking about Linnell. Linnell might be back tonight. He said he might join us for a story coming up in 20 minutes, so you might see Linnell in a matter of moments. He did jump on earlier in the program. We got our text line popping off a little bit here. You can text us, 310-840-4910. It's the same as the call number. So if you don't want to call, but you want to get some thoughts off, a takeoff maybe, you can send that to the text line. You can also connect with me on Twitter at The Denton Day. That's the best place to reach me when I'm not in front of the microphone. But we got a texter that gives us two things. He gives us a take that I'm going to get to. He also gives a few potential nicknames for Oliver. I decided we are going to get Oliver a nickname, or at least try, by the end of the night. I also wanted 600 subscribers on YouTube. We were close to the number, but I gotta carry my weight. We're trying to get to 1,000 as a show by the end of March. Josh Graham set that mark. He said, "Hey, Denton, we're gonna get 1,000." I thought we were gonna get 1,000 by like football season. He said no, end of March. So we got to get there. I'm sitting in for him on what is traditionally his show. I got to carry my weight. So, like, you guys got to help me carry my weight here. I needed to get to 600 by the end of the night. I promised. I promised Josh. I promised Linnell. I said, guys, I'm going to get you to 600. Well, damn it. We got to 600. That applause is not nearly as loud and not nearly as forceful as I thought. So we got to 600 subscribers, so we're going to up that number. All right, let's get to the text. I'm going to read the text, the take first, and then we'll get to some of these nicknames, Oliver, and then you can decide if any of these nicknames are cool. Okay? Does that work?
That works.
That works. All right, cool. So the texter texted me and he said, "Hey, do you think that Pearl disrespected his son with the nepotism comment? Does it diminish the credibility as a coach in the eyes of his staff and his players?" I had not thought about this angle, but this is a really interesting angle. So Bruce Pearl had admitted this week, "Hey, I kind of got my son the job here." He left Auburn, retired, son takes over. Son is now the coach of Auburn. Auburn is fighting for a spot in the NCAA tournament right now. I'm not suggesting that's why Bruce Pearl went on a national platform and said Miami of Ohio should not get in as an at-large if they don't win the title. But I'm just pointing those two truths that are out there, and you can connect them however which way you decide to. Does it diminish how the players view him? I'm going to say no, and mostly because I think they all knew that. Like, I don't know that anybody inside the building is surprised when Bruce Pearl comes out and says, "I used nepotism to get my son the job." I just if you are on the team, you probably saw that one coming. So I don't think that really discredits. And to be fair, I don't think his son's a bad coach. I mean, they're on the bubble right now. They're not nearly as good as he once was. But I also think the money dried up a little bit. Bruce Pearl has been known to spend some money when it comes to putting a team together, both legally and illegally, before and during NIL, right? So I think maybe some of the money dried up a little bit. I still think the kid can coach. So I'm not going to sit here and say he is undeserving. I think we've all seen cases of nepotism where someone deserving is robbed of the job by someone who is vastly undeserving. I ran into this once. So picture this. I'm not going to share names here because I actually kind of like the dad. But I was trying to get my feet wet. I went to Liberty in the state of Virginia. And they had, one of the reasons I went there is they have this vast sports network. They were one of the first teams in colleges to have this vast sports network. I always wanted to do radio. I was told I have a face for radio. Haha. But I always wanted to do radio, but I was doing some stuff on the television side, right? Trying to. I remember I came back from a spring break trip. I went to Iceland, and it was before everyone went to Iceland. Now everybody goes to Iceland. I went to Iceland before everybody went to Iceland, but I came back from the trip, and I had to go right back to school during spring break because I wanted to work a softball game. I didn't know much about softball at the time. I just wanted the money, and I was hoping that I would eventually get on air at the sports network. Spoiler alert, that did not happen. But during this, this is a whole operation, multiple cameras. I think we had 4 or 5 cameras for a softball game. And Liberty was at the time, they were pretty good at softball. Not great, but pretty good at softball. So they have this whole operation. There's not a lot of people there because it's spring break. So all the students are gone. And then still softball was on the come up. I actually love softball. I covered it for when I worked at a newspaper in high school softball. And high school softball is so much fun. But I'm doing the softball game, right? And there's someone that is doing sidelines, or what they called, I guess, dugouts in softball. But they're doing what is effectively sidelines. Now, this particular individual had a dad with power on campus, right? So she is doing this job. I am somebody that wants to do this job. I could hear her on the broadcast. And you got to be cut from a certain cloth to be good at this media thing. Everybody thinks they can do the talk, right? And Oliver, I'm sure at Maryland you saw this too. I'm sure you saw this, right? Everybody thinks they can get in front of a microphone and they can talk. They get in front of a camera and they can talk. That red light comes on. It's a little different. So I'm listening for hours to this individual struggle when it's time for them to be on camera, just seething, because I know that they got that spot because of the last name. I don't think that the Pearl situation is like this. I do think the kid can coach. I think he might have gotten his progress expedited to the top of the ladder because of his dad, but I do think he is a competent coach. This texter also gave us a list of nicknames for Oliver. So, Oliver, I'm going to run these by you, and then you get to decide. Because I'm not going to give you, but one of the worst bits in classic old school sports radio is when someone just gives you a nickname that you hate. I'm not going to do that. So this texter, they didn't give us a name, but that's fine. They said Big O as a homage to Oscar Robertson. Those are big shoes to fill. Do you want to fill the shoes of Oscar Robertson? I don't know.
That was actually my nickname on my 4th grade basketball team. Funny.
Okay, we can. All right, I'm gonna make a note of that one. Are you okay with being called Big O? I know there's certain people that maybe don't like being called big. I don't want to step on toes. All right, so Big O is a positive. Big O, we like Big O. But this next one was a joke. I hope. Ollie Oxenfree. I'm not gonna call you that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna nix that one.
Don't do that.
That's also way longer than Oliver.
Yes.
Like I feel like a nickname has to really slap if it's going to be more syllables than the name regularly.
Yeah.
Charles Dickens, Oliver, aka Mr. Twist. Are you aware of Charles Dickens? Are you familiar?
I didn't know where that was going. I get it, but again, kind of defeats the whole purpose. It's very creative, but
it is very creative. At first, though, like this text separate, I couldn't tell if he was saying his name was Charles Dickens or if he was telling me to call you Charles Dickens.
I respect the creativity though.
There's a lot of creativity in that one. I think we'll stick with Big O. I think Big O is going to be Oliver's name from now on.
I'm cool with that.
If you're cool with that, we're cool with that. So Oliver is now, if you call the show at 310-840-4910, 310-840-4910, if you call the show, you now have to address Oliver as Big O. And if you don't, he's going to tell us, and then we're going to dock points from you. We don't do that, but we're going to dock points from you anyway. Trae Young played tonight for the Wizards. That was fun to see as a Wizards fan. But the big news, NBA-wise, outside of the Jason Tatum coming back to play Friday, hopefully, against the Dallas Mavericks, LeBron James now has the most made field goals in history. He surpassed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which it felt like that was like the last real big milestone that he was realistically going to surpass of Kareem. Obviously, he surpassed points long ago, but with the three-point line, it's a lot easier to get there. Free throws, a lot easier to get there. I still think it's cool when LeBron passes things. I know he is a polarizing figure because there are older generation people that it's Michael Jordan or die, and if you like LeBron James, you suck. There's younger generation people that Michael Jordan didn't count. LeBron James is the far and away GOAT. I kind of lean LeBron in most of these conversations, if I'm being honest. But I understand the greatness of Michael Jordan. I watched the documentaries, all that stuff. I just like seeing records be broken. Like, I am a statistician, a historian of the game, if you will. I love it when I see records be broken. And the fact that LeBron James is just consistently shattering the records and breaking and because I still believe that he's playing in 2026, 2027. So he's going to just set that record higher and higher and higher. And that's really cool to see. They're going to get bulldozed in the postseason. Los Angeles is. Like, this team, I just don't think they're very good. I think Luka and JJ Redick don't like each other, which, like, that to me is maybe a little bit more important than anything LeBron related. They're still over 500 by a pretty significant margin, but as they stack up to other teams in the West, I just don't really see it with this Los Angeles team, but at least LeBron got another notch in the belt. The JJ and Luka stuff is weird, though. Like, that's really weird because I would have thought those two guys would get along pretty decently, but it seems like that is not the case. You got to keep your eye on what that is going to look like moving forward and how much of a moving forward there is actually going to be with those two guys, because they're going to side with the player long before they side with the coach, especially the coach that hasn't won anything. I'm Denton Day sitting in for Josh Graham on Westwood One Sports Night. You are not going to believe a crazy story in the state of California about a basketball coach that I tell you next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
It's Westwood One Sports Night. Denton Day sitting in for Josh Graham on a Thursday, now Friday in most portions of the country. Going to be back tomorrow as well, which means a free-for-all Friday. My first ever free-for-all Friday in the driver's seat of the show. I'm excited about that. Maybe you're going to ask me about this next story. this was just like radio gold when I saw it. Like, I don't get happy with like crazy stories because this is straight off of like a thriller movie. I mean, you want to talk about spiking of the anxiety. This is the kind of story that's going to do it. But there is a coach that is a part of the Cal Bakersfield basketball team that we found out nationally today was moonlighting as a pimp, like an actual pimp. I was reading this story flabbergasted of like, sometimes I love the fact that I'm in like a bubble, like this nice little like safe space where I'm not in danger. I've never been trafficked before. I don't even think anybody has laid eyes on me that they want to do that to me. Like, that's a nice luxury to live in, I have to admit. Just this safety that I have created for myself. Boy, I was reading this story and I was like, oh my God, this actually happens in the world? Like, it does feel like it's straight off of like a movie. And I'm sure someone is going to buy some sort of movie rights or documentary rights or something to something like this, because this was absolutely nuts. So for those that did not see the story, allow me to be your audiobook narrator for the next like 15 minutes here. So Cal Bakersfield is out in California, hence the Cal portion of that. For those that are like me that know literally nothing about California geography, it is closer to LA, but it's like not that close to LA, close enough. I don't know what is close and what is not in California in terms of traffic, but it's closer to LA than it is to San Francisco. Is that fair, Oliver? So it's close to the LA section, but it's not like in LA, right? So they had a coach by the name of Kevin Mays. He was an assistant coach that at one point, not that long ago, like 10 years ago, was a player on the team. For some reason, I know this is not the way that it should be, but Hollywood has like heavily depicted the way that I look at someone who is a pimp. I always think like old dude, big purple coat, maybe a cane. Now, maybe this dude was walking around with that. I don't think they gave a lot of description in terms of his attire in the story. But like, that's usually what I think of when I think of a pimp. Like, it is this like Hollywooded up dude that has money, jewelry. Like, it's impossible to miss him when you look at him, right? Like, you would look at a guy and say, yeah, that dude might be a pimp. Turns out that's not mostly not how they operate at all. So this dude is moonlighting as a pimp. The head coach of the team, Rod Barnes, who is the same guy that coached Kevin Mays. So Kevin Mays played 10 years ago for Rod Barnes. Rod Barnes, in August, received an email from an anonymous tipster, which is what the story that ESPN wrote about it called the person, the tipster, that Mays was moonlighting as a pimp. Now, I'm going to give Barnes a little bit of credit here, at least by the way that it was depicted in the article. He didn't waste a lot of time. We have seen bad things happen in sports in the world in general, right? And it feels like a lot of that could have been solved by people making smart choices immediately, right? Going to, hey, we got a problem. I'm going to run this up the ladder immediately. We're not going to bury this thing. And at least from the way that the article depicted this, it did feel like that Rod Barnes ran this up the ladder the way that it should have been. But when you have something like this, everybody gets got in the process. And he gets got in the process at some point in this as well. But this email, in the email, it said like the title was like 911 emergency. It's one of those things where even if you get a lot of emails, you see that one immediately. Like, even if you get a lot of spam, maybe you have a lot of like birthday emails in there from like companies or subscriptions or promos or whatever. When you see the 911 thing, you're going to read that one immediately and be like, all right, I got to take heed of what is being said here. The tipster told Rod Barnes, hey, your coach is doing a bunch of terrible things. And then in all caps, fix it or the whole staff will fall. Now, I'm going to take a time out here, right? It is important to me as the host of the show. This is a tough topic, right? Like, it's a tough topic. Guy moonlighting is a pimp, not being a very nice person. However, I do think it's important to find like small inklings of humor in tough topics. That's how we get through it. That's how I cope with things. I'm a cope through humor guy. In all caps, fix it or the whole staff will fall. That's like right out of drama time television, right? Like that line is going to be used on an ABC show about some sort of scandal in the next year or two. I guarantee it. Like that is right off of, like you want to talk about Hollywood and this bad boy up. That is right off of something Hollywood. It ended up working, by the way. So like this person, the tipster got it right. But they said, this is your first warning and final warning. Fix it or the whole staff is going to fall. Now, Mays is currently being held without bail right now, and he faces, he is going away. Like, even if he doesn't get hit with all these things that he's facing, he is going away for a long-ass time. He got like 11 counts, all of them terrible. He going away for a long time. He pled not guilty. Swing and a miss, bro. You won't get got. Because along with like the pimping stuff, he had 600-plus images on his phone. And look, man, they were not good images on the phone. They were the kind of images that made me feel like, I don't know if he was hustling for some side money or if he was trying to get a job with the federal government. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, if you've read the news in the last, I don't know, like whenever Jeffrey Epstein died. He got some bad images on the phone that involved children, right? So he's going away for a long, long time. But he got all these things on here, right? So Barnes, he got as well. He had to leave. Athletic director, he had to leave. They had to leave the roles in September, like right after. Again, they ran this thing up the line relatively quickly, but it got so bad that they then had to leave. So this dude was a player that became a coach, and he became a coach because, for all intents and purposes, good dude when he was a player. They did all these background checks on him. Nothing came up, nothing flagged. The background check thing is like so weird in these things because it only really flags stuff that you have been like hit with. You know what I mean? So like he could have been doing this for years and years and years prior to the background check, but no one is reporting this thing. So the background check comes out completely empty. Meanwhile, this dude is he's hitting states plural. Just like taking all these women, doing awful things with them. And he's taking them to like Nevada in Vegas, which, all right, like the Vegas thing makes sense. If you've been to Vegas, it's pretty lawless over there. But he's going up and down the West Coast, just taking these poor women everywhere, which is a crazy thing to do. But then here, again, I cope through humor. So you got to understand that. I cope through humor. If you are going to be someone that is taking part in like nefarious, terrible activities, you can't be an idiot. Like you just can't be an idiot. And what do I mean by that? If you're leaving a paper trail, someone's going to pick it up. Someone's going to find out. You're going to get caught. My man was not leaving a paper trail. He was leaving flashing lights. Like flashing arrows saying, I am the one that is doing that. He was trafficking, the article tells us, he was trafficking women in rental cars that were rented to the school, to the team. Like the team had accounts with local rental companies, and he was using those to rent the cars that he was then proceeding to traffic people with. How idiotic do you have to be? Like this, on a scale of 1 to 10, you are 100 level of fool right there. Like the dumbest thing you can do. It's the immediate, hey, it is the problem is over here. Look over here. This is where you will find the problem. Like the biggest idiot in the world. Just getting caught because he's being dumb. So I continue to read this thing on, and like again, like this is right out of a movie. I'm not going to get into like gory details here. I know it's late night radio, but we can't. Like there's some stuff in here that is so bad that we just literally cannot read. But this dude is just getting just all of these different charges, right? And he's getting caught and he's getting popped, and this whole program is about to literally fall apart. Like just literally fall apart. The team sucks. Not that it really would have made a difference, but the team sucks. There was maybe a point where, let's just say this coach was doing all the things that he was doing, right? And like, but the team was like really good. And you're like, hey, we're gonna root for the team, but not the coach, but like because the team is getting kind of screwed by this too. Like, do you know how weird it would feel? I'm sure maybe there's some people that have felt this before. I live in like this weird bubble of safety. I don't have to feel this. You know how weird it would feel to find out like someone that you spent a lot of time with is doing incredibly terrible things on the low. That has to be like the whole, I'd be vomiting, like literally purging my stomach if I found out like that a coach of mine was doing awful things. Like I literally couldn't do, like driving up and down to all these states and doing it on a company card. Like you got to be an idiot to be doing these things. Someone that I put my trust in is doing these things. And again, like this thing happens. It's terrible. It happens more than it gets reported. But I was reading this thing just to get like completely in awe. I would also point out that none of the victims in this, it's not like he was pulling people from school. That doesn't really make it a whole lot better, I know, but it doesn't make it worse, right? Like it's not like he was pulling students. He wasn't a pipeline for any of this stuff, but he is. I mean, that boy is going to be gone for a long ass time. This Mays character. There was a DUI that was involved in this as well. That's how they tracked it back. So someone got a DUI in the car. They looked up the car. Hey, the car is rented to this person at this school. Again, like paper trail, no. Flashing lights saying, hey, I am the one that is doing the idiotic things. Very much so, yes. Like just the easiest thing to catch up to. The school also does not have like reimbursement records. I feel bad for the school to an extent. I mean, you hired the guy, which I don't feel bad about. I mean, you hired a terrible person. But like you didn't. You're in the news. If you look up Cal Bakersfield right now, like, the first thing that pops up is this story. Maybe they're a great school. I literally have never heard of the school before, outside of like small time basketball stuff. But like I don't even think they've been all that good in basketball in the last like 10 to 15 years. Like I really have never heard of the school before. I'm sure they're a great institution and they got like something going on over there that's awesome. But this is the first thing that's now going to pop up for like weeks and months. Your establishment is going to be known as, hey, you had the coach that was an idiot, like a big time idiot, like he's going to jail for a long time kind of idiot. Not like the fun, like there's fun idiots in coaching, right? There's fun idiots. There's like the recruiting idiots that do some like really weird things with strippers in Louisville and Ole Miss. If I just had to name like a few, those are like the dumb guys. But like this dude is like the horrible idiot. I read this, man, and I was like, this is the craziest thing that I have ever read. Like it is literally an adrenaline, anxiety-filled roller coaster the entire way. And again, like I can't read some of the stuff that took place in the story because it was that bad. But it's also worth noting that like the tipster that sent this thing off allegedly is also in the profession of sex work. So like the tipster, it said in the article, was aware of the coach and the victim and the relationship and I guess done business with it. I don't know how you describe that in that line of, again, safety bubble over here. Like I'm not getting involved in those sorts of things, but they done like business. So they all knew each other. And then this person decided whatever was happening, hey, finally enough is enough. Really, that person deserves a lot of courage because she saved somebody before things got like too insanely hectic. Like it's already hectic, but insanely hectic. Plowing through entire, like how do you transition back to a sports topic from that? Linnell told me that he wanted to jump on with that one, and I don't know that he read the story. I got to be honest, because not a fun story to do. I'm Denton Day. I'm sitting in for Josh Graham on Westwood One Sports. Couple of NFL notes. As weird, like I'm just gonna plow through here. A couple of NFL notes. There's been a lot of releases across the league. Teams are trying to save up on a lot of cap room. Something that just popped up that I am a little stunned by. Tremaine Edmonds got released by the Bears on late Thursday night, so a couple hours ago. He got released by the Bears. The Bears signed him in the hopes that he was just going to be like this replacement, if you will, for Roquan Smith, who they traded to Baltimore. They signed him under the hope that he was going to be awesome. Big, athletic linebacker, freak of an athlete, you might say. It does worry me seeing a guy like Edmonds not really work with what Chicago is trying to do defensively. And then also, on the other hand, like prop up Sonny Styles the way that most of us have. Sometimes I feel like we get lost. I love the Combine. I'm guilty of this. I did this on this network. I spent a lot of time the last time I was on here talking about the Combine. I think we get lost sometimes in the athleticism, the feats of athleticism that we see at the Combine, and realize that like the football, the game itself is very different from what we see on the feats of athleticism and the RAS score and all the things that Sonny Styles did at an incredibly high level that really, what I call, broke necks. Because you're like, oh, he did what? And you're snapping your neck, right? He was breaking necks at the combine because people knew he was an athlete. He didn't know he was that much of an athlete. And he grades out athletically better than Tremaine Edmonds did. Like, that is important to mention here. But are you really going to take a guy that plays a very similar position that's supposed to be like this crazy athlete? Are you really going to take him top 5? Are you really going to take him top 5? I've been wondering that now for a couple of days because I like Sonny Styles a lot. Sonny Styles might end up in Washington for all I know. An off-ball linebacker, a key to a defense, but he's not a premium position. And I do wonder, like, hey, if the Tremaine Edmonds thing did not work out in Chicago, like Chicago's defense wasn't the worst in the world. It wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst in the world. That didn't work out in Chicago. And he does something very similar to what most NFL teams would then ask Sonny Styles to do. Are we just going to think and hope and pray that the guy that is making the transition from college to the NFL is automatically going to be this world beater? Or are we going to have this come to Jesus moment of like, oh, it's actually really hard to be a really dynamic player in a defense in today's day and age by playing that specific position. It's this pendulum swing, right? I talked about this earlier with the Kenneth Walker thing. The pendulum is swinging back in the direction of everybody wants to pay running backs. I've always been of the belief, like, you're not paying running backs big-time money. You're just not going to do it. You're going to pay offensive linemen. You're going to pay maybe a receiver or two. You're going to play quarterback. And you're playing a bunch of defensive guys. I want a defensive end. I want a safety. Maybe I want a corner, right? A defensive end and a corner are getting premier money. Linebackers and safeties, unless you're like a dominant safety, linebackers and safeties getting less money. They're just not, they don't have as big of an impact, it feels like, on a regular down in, down out basis, game in, game out basis, than a defensive end and a corner, or like a wide receiver and a quarterback if you're on the offensive side, right? Or a tackle or whoever, right? So the Tremaine Edmonds thing is interesting because he's now on the open market, and a team that could potentially have been in the market for Sonny Styles in the NFL draft now has a guy that has played at that level that you at the very least know, hey, I know what Tremaine Edmonds is. Maybe I'll just go with him, not draft Sonny Styles, see if I can lure somebody who is falling in love with all the athleticism into drafting Sonny Styles, and then I get a big haul in return for a guy that I already didn't want because I basically filled him with the NFL version of what Sonny Styles could potentially be. It's a very fascinating dynamic, right? It's a very, very fascinating thing to look into here. Coming up, big-time move, speaking of Chicago, big-time move for Chicago and Buffalo. Another blockbuster deal. I'm going to tell you who won it when we get back. I'm Denton Day, sitting in for Josh Graham on Westwood One Sports. Don't go anywhere.
The Patriots are releasing star receiver Stephon Diggs. Will the AFC champions look to acquire Eagles standout A.J. Brown and reunite him with Mike Vrabel? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
It's Westwood One Sports Night. Denton Day sitting in for Josh Graham on a Thursday now Friday show. Unless you're on the West Coast, it'll be Friday momentarily for you out there. I'll be back tomorrow as well, which means we're doing a free-for-all Friday with your boy in the driver's seat. I'm excited about that. You can watch us on YouTube or simulcast on YouTube and my Twitter page at The Denton Day on Twitter. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, what are you doing? Go subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000. Just search Westwood One Sports Night. You'll get shorts. You'll get long-form content. And then you see the show live, 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. every single day. And then it's live in its entirety if you're not up for any of those hours. You can go watch it in its entirety. Big-time trade made on Thursday. Another blockbuster. So we had seen the Chiefs blockbuster with the Rams. The Bills got one right. They needed an offseason win. They got an offseason win. They make a move for DJ Moore. They give up a second-round pick. They get DJ Moore. They get a fifth-round pick in return. I love the deal for Buffalo. I love the deal for Brandon Beane. I mean, he got to be the happiest man in the state of New York at the moment, at least the happiest man in the Buffalo area at the moment. You got yourself a wide receiver one for your quarterback. It's something that the local media in Buffalo and then national media have been skewering this guy for years. That's why they drafted Keon Coleman. They needed another wide receiver after they knew they were moving on from Stephon Diggs, saying, hey, we don't think that Diggs is going to be here much longer. We're going to part ways here. He's going to be asking for too much money. We're not going to want to pay him that much money. We got to get out while the getting's good. That seemed like it was crazy at the time. It ended up being a pretty smart decision for Buffalo, moving on from Diggs. But they needed another wide receiver, and they got one. And I've seen all this pushback about, oh, Buffalo got fleeced. How? For a second-round pick? If you're telling me that I could get a wide receiver 1, a guaranteed wide receiver 1, I'm giving the second-round pick. And, oh, by the way, I'm getting another pick in return, too. So it's not like it's not a player for a pick. It's a player and a pick for a pick, where there's no guarantee that second-round pick is going to end up being awesome, hence the Keon Coleman situation that they're in right now. I don't know what he is to them. Wide receiver 3, they still think he's wide receiver 2. I have no idea how they view him there. Joe Brady said, hey, the best thing that happened for Keon Coleman's career in Buffalo was me getting hired. And then they went and got another receiver that had spent time with Joe Brady. I think that's the big connection there, is that DJ Moore has a relationship with Joe Brady, and maybe more importantly than his relationship with the coach, I think DJ Moore is now going to be playing for an organization and a quarterback that he likes. I don't think he liked what was going on in Chicago. I don't know why he didn't like what was going on in Chicago. They were clearly on the rise, with Caleb Williams playing really, really good football towards the end of the year in 2025 into 2026 in the postseason. Now, his efficiency still needs to be better. There are a lot of tough games from a completion percentage standpoint for Caleb Williams. He needs to get better there, and maybe that is what DJ Moore didn't like. He rounded out a couple of routes, and he happened to do so at very poor times in a postseason game. So, there are things that I look at and I say, I don't think that he likes being in Chicago. I mean, he basically subbed himself out of a play that was still going on, but, literally subbed himself out. He just walked to the sideline. The play was still happening. He was on the bench by the time it ended. Literally, both cheeks on the bench. It was the craziest thing, and he just went out for the next play after that. I was like, how are you letting that happen? We skewered Anthony Richardson when he took himself out. DJ Moore took himself out during a play. It was the craziest thing ever. I don't think he liked being in Chicago. So now he gets to get away from Chicago, and he gets to play with Josh Allen, and he gets to be a clear number 1 for Josh Allen. DJ Moore is a number 1 wide receiver in this league. Is he an elite top 10 to top 15 guy? No. But he's a legit number 1 wide receiver in this league. And more than anything, he is a massive upgrade from what they had in 2025. I like Khalil Shakir. I think he's a good player. They had that dude as wide receiver 1 last year. How are you going to be successful with that dude as wide receiver 1? You're not. That's the answer. You are just not going to be successful. That is not going to work. So now you're putting him in wide receiver 2, which I think he's a good wide receiver 2. Maybe they get another guy out there, play him at wide receiver 3. But DJ Moore takes over as wide receiver 1. He still has good football in him. I think he could still be a 1,000-yard receiver for at least a couple more years. He's 28. He's going to turn 29 in about 2 months, or I guess a little under 2 months, a month and some change. He turns 29 in April. 29 is not old. It's not, as a wide receiver. I have hated this new trend in the NFL where now 30 is old for everybody. 30 is not old in the NFL as a wide receiver. You can still be very, very productive at that age. Mike Evans has been productive into his 30s as a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. Again, he's not an elite top 10 guy, but he's been a legitimate number 1 wide receiver on a pretty good offense. I don't see why DJ Moore at 29 can't be that in Buffalo, with a quarterback that has been desperate for a guy like a DJ Moore ever since they let go of Stephon Diggs and parted ways with it. Well, traded him, but since they parted ways with Stephon Diggs, that spot has been just open and gaping, and they tried it with Coleman, didn't work. They tried it with Khalil Shakir. It didn't really work the way that it was supposed to. Hell, they grabbed Amari Cooper off the streets. He didn't know the plays. You remember that play a couple of years ago where he's looking at the guy next to him saying, what route am I running? And then he ran that route and Josh Allen threw a touchdown pass to him. It's one of the craziest videos. They literally grabbed the dude off of the street because they were so desperate for wide receiver help. Moore is a good player, and you're not paying him that much money. I've seen this conversation, and I've listened to it. That's the thing about doing late night radio is I basically just have to listen to people I don't agree with in the lead up to the show, and I have to look at and read things that I don't agree with in the lead up to the show. You're really not paying DJ Moore that much money for a legit number one wide receiver. You're not. It's like $24, $25 million that they're on the hook for. Maybe you get some kind of extension done with him, but I'm hoping that he would be of sound mind and realize, hey, I'm now not going to be like a top paid wide receiver in this extension market. Like I'm now just trying to, it's my third contract. You got a good one in the second contract. It's my third contract. My third contract still might be more profitable than my second contract, but I'm not looking to get into the top 10 of the highest paid wide receivers. I'm just now looking to make good money. Right now, his average salary is $27.5 million. So maybe he falls a little bit, actually. I've heard 25 this entire day. Now I'm looking at the numbers. It's 27.5. So he's probably going to fall a little bit below that with an extension. But, like, that's not that much compared to some of these other dudes. Jamar Chase is getting 40. Jefferson's getting 35. Lamb, Metcalf, Wilson, A.J. Brown, those guys, all over $32 million. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 30. Ayuk, 30. Terry McLaurin, 29. T. Higgins, 28. You're getting a bargain right now on DJ Moore. And when you sign up that extension, maybe lower that number a little bit, you're getting a bargain on DJ Moore. You're not paying market-changing price on a receiver that is going to be pretty good. Like how that is a loss is beyond me. I love the NFL draft. It's a crapshoot every single time. You have no idea if a guy that you're drafting in the second round is going to be good. You have no idea. Now, if you're a good general manager, it better be good. But you have no idea. And the thing with Brandon Beane is that he is clearly entering this season with some pressure. They just fired Sean McDermott. And this offseason has been a little bit of a disaster with the Keon Coleman stuff. With the, hey, we're going to change the culture of this organization, and then just hiring somebody that was already here. I don't know how much of a culture that changes. He was participating in the previously bad culture. Their offseason has not been very good. He is the guy that is under an immense amount of pressure in 2026 and 27. Because unless the Pagula family has just completely lost their noggin, you're not firing a coach after 1 year. You're going to fire the general manager. Hey, like we fired the coach last year. We believed in you. We were the team player for you. If it doesn't work in 2026, your job is going to be next. So if you were placed in that position, and if I was placed in that position, let me live vicariously through Brandon Beane. I'm not trusting the safety of my job to a second-round pick that I don't really know if they're going to be that good. I might not even draft a damn wide receiver at that spot. Like maybe the wide receiver that I had my eyes on, that person is gone, and I don't have a player that I can take at the second round that I'm in love with. I'm not risking my future and my financial security on a second round pick when I can just go get a wide receiver that I know doesn't want to be in Chicago. Because again, like he made that pretty clear. DJ Moore did. Body language, everything. He did not want to be there. I'm going to go get him. I'm going to have him play with Josh Allen, and life is going to be amazing for everybody. That just seems like such an obvious decision to make there. And I feel like that's why they did that. That's a win for Buffalo. You got your quarterback a weapon, and you gave up a second-round pick, but you also get a fifth-round pick in return. That's a win for Buffalo. It's also a win for Chicago because you get a second-round pick, and you can potentially get somebody on the low. You just lost a center. Not saying you're going to draft a center in the second round, but you get a draft pick, and you free up cap space. Like, it is a very rare both sides win kind of a deal. Chicago is going to need to revamp a lot of different things. That offensive line, as I mentioned, they now need another wide receiver, maybe a wide receiver 3 If you really love Luther Burden can then become wide receiver 2. Roma Dunze needs targets, just ask his dad. So he's going to be wide receiver 1. They got one with Loveland. I mean, Colston Loveland's been awesome in the very small amount of time that he's been in the NFL. He's been really, really good. So their offense is looking pretty good from a skill position standpoint. Defensively, they could use some adjustments. They just lost their linebacker in Jermaine Edmonds. They released him after they traded DJ Moore. So there's some changes coming to what Chicago is doing here. It does feel like there's an arms race with all of the quarterbacks in 2024, with Jane Daniels, with Caleb Williams, with Drake May. Hey, we gotta perform in year number 3. They've all had one really good year. Bo Nix in there as well. Bo Nix has had 2 good years, team success-wise. Almost won Rookie of the Year. Almost, not really, in 2024. So I'll put Bo Nix in there too. They're trying to get to year number 3, and they're trying to not end up, with all due respect, like your C.J. Stroud situation, who was really good one year, and then just kind of sunk, and then sunk. And we'll see in year number 4 what he looks like. I don't know that he's going to get the big extension. I think they might extend Will Anderson before C.J. Stroud in Houston. You're trying to avoid that. It's like an arms race with the 2024 quarterbacks. How do we avoid being that? And if you're Chicago, you got to surround Caleb Williams with a lot of talent and hope that in year number 2 with the Ben Johnson offense that the efficiency is going to be a lot better and that the consistency is going to be a lot better, right? You're competing now. You just saw, like, when one of the guys in your quarterback class in year number 1 makes it to the NFC Championship game, and then in year number 2, a guy in the opposite conference makes it to the Super Bowl. Hey, you were supposed to be the generational talent of the bunch. I think there's a little bit of pressure on Caleb Williams now. So now that they're getting rid of DJ Moore, that also kind of, at least to me, proves the point. Hey, there was something off there with the relationship, because you want to give your quarterback, your young quarterback, as many weapons as possible. There is literally no such thing as too many skill position players, too many explosive skill position players on an offense when you have a young quarterback. It doesn't exist. The limit is not real. You need to give him as much as you can. So getting rid of DJ Moore says that was not working, but I also think Chicago is now going to be in the market for like a Diggs potentially. I actually don't think Stephon Diggs is going to play anywhere until the legal stuff gets situated. Like, the Patriots called this a cap decision the same way that the Ravens cut Justin Tucker for football reasons. No, the off-the-field stuff is very, very damning right now. And you're not going to go towards a guy that you know has off-the-field issues, because Stephon Diggs put them through the ringer. So I don't think Stephon Diggs lands in Chicago. Maybe Chicago's going to make the move for Max Crosby. We shall see. When we get back, we will put the show to bed. And I got to tell you about the show that I started watching. I'm a little behind at times, but the show is excellent. So I'll give a full review of season number 1 of Hijack when we get back. It's Denton Day sitting in for Josh Graham on Westwood One Sports Night. Don't go anywhere.
Selection Sundays in 10 days. March Madness is coming in hot, and we've got the basketball brains to get your bracket ready. From your official home of the NCAA tournament, Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Denton Day.
Den Day sitting in for Josh Graham on Westwood One Sports. I have a stat for you that might someday win you a bar trivia. Or if you're lucky, an even better trivia prize. Because something historic took place Thursday night in the association. In the last 40 years, there have been 3 NBA players to record a 20-rebound game within their first 5 career NBA games. This is going to win you a trivia prize at some point in your life. It's my personal guarantee. The 3 players are Shaq, Tim Duncan, and now Washington Wizards forward Julian Reese, brother of Angel Reese. He played tonight for Washington. This dude is an effort king. I mean, he gives all the effort in the world. He grabbed 20 rebounds in his third career NBA game. Now, the Jazz are not very good. It was literally a battle of two teams that were tanking. Trae Young did play for the first time as a member of the Washington Wizards. And side note, I know most people don't care about the Wizards. Most people in D.C. don't even care about the Wizards. At least they haven't. They care about the Wizards now because of Trae Young. And you know how much of a luxury it is to see like a good point guard play after I had to sit through like Jordan Poole years. It's amazing. Oh my God, Trae Young is so smooth with things. It's unbelievable. But Julian Reese joined Shaq and Tim Duncan as the only three players in the last 40 years to have a 20-rebound game within their first 5 career games. Insane. All right, we're going to put the show to bed here in a little bit. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Westwood One Sports Night. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We did hit 600 tonight, so thank you, everybody. We're building this thing from the ground up. But we need to get as many as possible. Josh Graham and Linnell Willingham told me, they said, Denton, you got to do your part here. You're sitting in for 2 days. I'm going to be with you guys tomorrow as well. You're sitting in for 2 days. You got to do your part and make sure that the numbers keep growing. So thank you to everybody that did subscribe, but we need more. I'm selfish. I want more. We talked a lot about some running back stuff. We've given Oliver a nickname today. It's been a very good show, I would say. So without further ado, we are going to now put the show to bed. All right, so normally, I guess I'm just tossing myself with this. Normally, I'm the one that puts the show to bed, but I'm going to put the show to bed while I'm hosting here. I stumbled across, so my wife and I needed a new show to watch, right? I think that's a foundation of most happy marriages. You got to have a show to watch. She doesn't love, she's not like a huge bachelor or bachelorette person. I don't know that she's ever watched like one of those Love is Blind shows or any of that sort of stuff. I think she's like aware of it. We did watch Traitors. I wasn't excited for Traitors season 3. So like we're looking for a new show. And we had found one that was on Apple TV. We watched Dark Matter because she read the book. I'd read the book previously. She had read the book. Watched Dark Matter. Liked Dark Matter. All right, cool. Dark Matter ends. We need another show to watch. So we stumbled across this show called Hijack on Apple TV. Oliver, are you a show guy? I know Josh is like a big-time movie guy. He doesn't have any time for shows. Are you a television show guy at all?
I am definitely TV over movies. I have not watched like anything new recently though, but I'm definitely TV over movies for sure.
What's the last show that you watched?
See, I'm like so big on if I like it, I'll rewatch it until the wheels fall off. So like I've gone through like Castle and Bones and shows of that nature. I've probably seen Bones through like 10 times. Like I'm just that dude where it's like it takes a lot of convincing for me to start a new show.
What is Bones?
Pretty much like a true crime show, kind of like Criminal Minds, but way less like freaky.
Oh yeah, Criminal Minds is crazy.
It was on.
I watched
Fox
one
for,
episode of that.
I think it was on Fox for like 15 years though. They did like 12 seasons.
That's why that sounds familiar. Yeah. I was like, I've heard of that show. I've never watched that show.
David Boreanaz, Emily Deschanel, those are the main actors.
I know Zooey Deschanel. She played Mrs. Day on New Girl.
Her sister.
I didn't know she had a sister. Yep. I do now. So anyway, I stumbled across this show called Hijack. Right now, I literally just I looked up Apple TV shows and I'm like, what is good? We're gonna watch Severance eventually. We're late to the party on that one, but I pulled up Hijack. I was like, all right, this will be fun. Like, let's give it a shot and see what happens. Dude, this show is like an adrenaline thrill ride the entire time. Idris Elba is in it. Idris Elba is awesome. He was like fantastic. It's 7. So I haven't watched season 2 yet. We're going to start season 2 probably this weekend. But we literally so the show started today at 11 p.m. I think we finished season 1. I was like, I need to give myself a little bit more time to prepare the show and do my job and such. But I was like, we should just watch the finale. We almost watched the finale yesterday. So we just had one episode sit and we're like, all right, let's just watch the finale. We watched it when we ate some dinner. I actually didn't eat dinner. I went to lunch with Armin. I'll show you that story in a little bit. I didn't eat dinner, so I just had a protein bar, like a man. But we just watched the finale. Dude, this was sanity. Idris Elba is so good, and it wasn't even this massively violent show. I'm doing my best to not spoil it, but it wasn't this massively violent show. I kind of thought that Idris Elba was just going to be this big hulking killer, because most of the movies that I have watched him in, I kind of gravitate towards action movies when I do watch movies, which if you are a fan of the show, you know that is not very frequently. But I've seen Idris Elba be this action star badass. He's going to break your face in. He's going to do all of these. He's going to beat your ass, basically. It was such a different role. And seeing him kind of navigate while still being physically imposing because he's Idris Elba, but having this nuanced character that was thoughtful and provoking and was almost felt two steps ahead the entire time, but still showed this glimpse of humanity when he was scared in certain parts of. It's about a plane being hijacked, if that wasn't the name Hijack, if that wasn't obvious. It's not about a dude that smokes weed named Jack, but the plane's hijacked and how he's navigating through all these things. He is fantastic. So I'm super pumped about season number 2, but I literally watched that before we started the show today. So I've been on this adrenaline high for the last few hours because the season finale was so every time you thought, if you watch traditional shows, right? There's a clear climax to an episode or a finale, right? And everything, the final few minutes are kind of downhill from there, if you will. We saw the peak of the mountaintop, and now we're just going to close the thing off with a little bow. It was not that. Every time I thought they were going to hit that point, and they're just going to, hey, we have solved it. We have potentially, not going to spoil it, we have hit the climax. This is it. Now everything is going to be happy-go-lucky, and it's going to be awesome. There's another twist. Or there's another, nope, not over yet. Nope, we're still going. So it was just a constant adrenaline ride. It was awesome. So we're going to start watching season 2 coming up here. And I was going to do this put to bed story yesterday, and then we just kind of ran out of it a little bit. This is a big deal for me, Oliver. I don't think this is a big deal for you. And I use the term big. It's very relative here. Jersey Shore family vacation is going to be no longer after this season. I mean, can we pour one out for Mike the Situation and Snooki and all these people? I didn't know that Jersey Shore was still being made. These people have to be in their 40s or 50s at this point now. And Jersey Shore was a thing when I was in high school. The amount of people that would come and be talking about what happened on the Jersey Shore when I'm in earth science class. I wasn't allowed to watch TV during the week. But when I was in earth science class, I'm feeling all left out as hell because I don't know what a Snooki is. Because, again, I can't watch television. My parents are like, no, you're not watching no damn Jersey Shore. Go do your homework. I would then proceed to not do my homework. That was my rebelling against my parents. But to see that show was still on, I asked Josh a question. Josh was on us today, and I was like, hey, is American Idol still a thing? And he was like, yeah, it's still a thing. Barely, but yeah. Finding out that Jersey Shore is still, what do they even do on that show? How did that last as long as it did? They were the one thing that I guess was lifting up MTV. That and MTV's The Challenge. I love MTV's The Challenge. I will always watch The Challenge. But I was pouring one out for Jersey Shore. That's how we're putting the show to bed. On Hijack, a great show. And the fact that they're still stringing along episodes of Jersey Shore deep into these people's 40s. I think Snooki has 6 kids or something like that. And you still go how are you getting away from the family to go party on the Jersey Shore you're still in your 20s? That never computed to me, but they didn't ask me. So bye-bye to the Jersey Shore. Everybody go watch Hijack. That's it for me. Big thanks to Josh for jumping on. Linnell jumped on. Oliver did a great job in our studios in Culver City. I'm back tomorrow. We got a free-for-all Friday. I want only the best questions. I'll see you tomorrow.
This is Westwood One Sports.